You said I'm ready.
Good evening, council members.
Steve, how are you? Hi, Madam
Good, thank
Council.
Ready? Yes. Mr. President,
Yes, Madam Clerk.
when you're ready, we're ready. We're live, sir.
You're alive?
Yes, we're live. Yes.
So welcome everyone. Tonight we're gonna have the budget hearings, on several of the departments. But before we do so, Madam Clerk, I just want to welcome the two council members that got re-elected.
Yes, sir.
And, I would like to give them an opportunity, say a few words if they wish to. So you can start off by second ward councilman, welcome Councilman Kalik. If you want to address, your constituents in the council, feel free.
Thank you, Council President. Glad to be back. Glad to see everyone here. Haven't seen you guys in a while. And residents of Second Ward has spoken. I'm here to represent them. They will say actions speak louder than words. I will represent the people of the Second Ward, not only the Second Ward, the people of the city. People over politics. Okay? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mendez, and then we'll go right into the meeting, please. Keep it brief, please.
Thank you, Council President. It's great to be back. Good evening, Council Cali administration. It is a privilege for me to be back. God to be the glory. And I'd like to take this time to also to thank all the registered voter of the Third Ward to support me back, not only in May, but also in November. Twice this year, they spoke loud and clear and put me back in this position to be their voice. And to be the people person. I'm here to represent not only the Third Ward as our councilman from the Second Ward state, because the decision that we make over here impact the entire city. So I'm looking forward to work with each and every one of you to move Paterson forward, but to take the right decision, the decision that help our community move forward. Once again, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We may continue with the meeting.
Yes, sir. May I take the roll call at this time?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Sure. Roll call for municipal council budget hearing of December 1st, 2020 at 5 p.m. Councilman Abdulaziz. Councilwoman Cotton. Councilman Davila. Councilman Jackson. Councilman Kalik.
President, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Mendez.
President, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Williams.
Here.
Councilman Glass.
Present, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Mr. President.
President, Madam Clerk.
Sure. Okay.
So Madam Clerk, let's.
Yeah, I'm going to, Mr. President, if I may I just continue with the 48-hour notice and the public notice, and then I just hand it over to you from this.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so let me read this first, and then you will let me know what you want to do with the public question. Okay. Meeting covered by 48-hour notice. Notice of the time, date, location, and agenda of this meeting was transmitted to the North Jersey Herald News, the Record, Jersey Voice, the Italian Voice, the State County Pulse, Dominicana News, Pesquero International, El Especial, the Paterson Press, the City Post News, tap into Paterson in addition to any other publication duly requesting such notices. At or about 11 a.m. on November 16, 2020, such notices were posted on the bulletin board in the offices of the city clerk at City Hall. Public notice. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that the Municipal Council of the City of Paterson has scheduled budget hearings for Tuesday, December 1, 2020 at 5 p.m. to be held via WebEx or in the council chambers, 155 Market Street, first floor, City Hall, Paterson, New Jersey, for the purpose of discussing the calendar year 2021 municipal budget with various departments. Public portion. Anyone who wishes to participate in the public portion may dial 973-321-1579, enter code 8326, press star 1 to listen to the meeting, press star 2 to leave a recording comment, Fresh Start 3 to be added to the speaker list. And tonight for Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, the various departments are administration, municipal court, law, general government. No formal action will be taken. Mr. President, would you like to conduct the public hearing at 8 o'clock? Is that convenient?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Okay. I'll just repeat again the number for the public portion, which will be open for 8 p.m. To participate, the number dial is 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. Press star 1 to listen to the meeting. Press star 2 to leave a recorded comment. Press star 3 to be added to the speaker list. Thank you, Mr. President. You may continue.
Yes, so council members, Madam BA, we're going to start off with the administration's budget.
Okay.
Okay. Paper.
So again, the first one is the mayor's office, correct?
Mayor starts with the 1010. If you want, do you want to start with that one or do you want to do the?
1010 is the mayor's office, yes.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. We have our chief of staff on here to speak to that.
So give us an overview of what this budget represents and any changes that you're planning to make.
Sure. I think, the chief of staff can speak in any detail here, but if you look at the mayor's, again, the 1010, there is very little change based on what was presented as part of the budget hearings back in May. But we'll go ahead. Chief of staff, you want to jump in?
Good evening, council members.
Okay.
As you can see in our budget, there really hasn't been any changes but a few. One of the changes being that we did back out a few line items, such as the position where the late Ed Cotton once held as an aide to the mayor. That is no longer there. And if you can just give me 1 second, I just want to pull it up so I can talk more intelligently.
So,
Okay.
question while you put it up.
So, as you can see, the clerk 1 position has been backed out and put back up when I needed to do right?
So,
And then we have,
Ella,
yes,
let me ask you a question because I'm looking at the fiscal year budget that ended on, that's how I'm going to go this all these meetings.
okay,
Budget that ended 2020, which is June 30th, right? The mayor's total budget for salaries was $462,000. Why is it that we're budgeting 514 now? What's the change?
okay, so there was some changes in some of the positions that were allocated in this budget. Let me just pull up, if you can give me a second, let me just pull up last year's budget so that I can, again, be able to reflect back. I know that there's some changes with a couple of the positions and their salaries, that including the community service worker. I'm sorry, okay, so the community service worker position is at 70,000. And then there in the, we've also added the interns back into this particular budget. Someone is,
Okay.
Somebody's excited out there. I think it's a Galaxy S10, somebody on the phone.
okay,
Okay, you can continue.
there we go. All right. So as you can see, there was some changes in the salaries here in this particular budget than last year.
We specified that we could keep the discussion maybe short because we have a lot of divisions and
Okay.
departments. So
All right, yeah, so that's where you see a few changes there. There was some salary increases that caused that particular, but the personnel department, our personnel lines of the budget have went up due to the fact that there was some salary increases from last year's budget. So that's what you're seeing. And you're also seeing where in the last budget, we backed out the interns totally because at that time, due to COVID, we were not sure if that we were going to entertain having interns. In this particular budget, we included interns, but not the entire amount. We're going to have 3 interns instead of 4. And I think we had more than 4 last time. Madam Leah, if you could help me there. We had how many interns
No,
in the last budget?
no, we never had them. You proposed, the administration proposed them at one time. We asked them to remove them, so we never had them. So let me just let my colleagues know.
Okay, I apologize. I know when I came on, there was some interns. I don't know what budget they were on, so I do.
We're not being paid, we asked for them to be removed. So, right now what you have is the 3 interns, and I believe from remembering from the last budget hearings, I think there was an increase of about $10,000-15,000 to the community service worker. And there was also an increase to the office supervisor. Is that correct, Madam DA?
Yeah, if you're talking about fiscal year 20 compared to the budget hearing 21, correct. I think it was less than that. Lydia, can you pull up the exact numbers there? I think it was 5 for the community service worker, or I'm sorry, for the office supervisor, and 10 for the community service worker.
So council members, that's the increase right there. So 5 and 10 is 15, and then the 3 interns.
But it wasn't but actually the confidential aid to the mayor position was different. So those positions all balanced out. Those 3 positions were all the same from the previous one. It really is the intern line, which we ended up taking, which wasn't in FY20.
So check this out. In the budget hearing that we had in the last year, there was also a discussion, and I don't mean to go back and forth. There was a discussion about recreation of a position. The whole council was like, we shouldn't hire that position in recreation. You guys did anyway. So I don't want to compare last budget hearing to this one. We want to actually compare the actual outcome of those budget hearings to this one. So I'm also taking it a step further, something my colleagues don't have, maybe some of you do. I'm looking at last year's budget, the one that ended June 30th. I want to see what change we're seeing. So that's just me. But, Councilman,
Right.
you have a question. Councilman,
Oh, you talking to me?
Councilman,
I'm raising
You
my
have to
hand.
hit the unmute button.
Yes, thank you so very much. I do apologize. Thank you, Council President. And let me just, unfortunately, this is the first budget hearing that I'm attending. I know we are almost in the last inning of this, budget cycle since we changed from fiscal year to calendar year. But I just want to express, what I feel based on this position. And I'd like to start with administration. Because there's position here that in past administration that I have the opportunity to serve, I didn't saw this position, like, public information officer, the office supervisor that the council president already mentioned that has an increase and is now at 70,700. The public information is 64,309. The aide to the mayor, that position was there before, now it's at 85,000. And community service worker, that position is at 70,000. Those 4 positions very similar to me. We're talking about 389,000, almost 289,000 plus benefits, almost 300,000. And it's concerning to me because I also see that the intern also on the other side, we have $45,000 allocated to intern. And I just want to express my concern when it comes to that because it looks like we adding more and more positions into this budget, even knowing that we are at the last inning. But I just want to express my concern based on leaving those line items open. I know we're taking only the $6,000 out of the current one, but we're leaving 45 here and plus those 4 positions that are very similar. I don't know how my council colleagues feel about that, but I just want to put that up there, and I think that we should eliminate those open positions that are now filled. That's my concern. That's how I feel it. Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Velez? Councilman Velez, hold on, you're still muted.
Now?
Yes.
Testing, 1, 2, 1, 2, okay. So, let me highlight something here. I just wanna bring to the council a highlight that a lot of this position probably in titles are new, while they was there. I believe Madam BA could clarify that a lot of those positions, Councilman Mendez was there, but DCA and the administration decided to change the title because the function of them required change of title. So, I could go mention who was that title before. For example, community service worker, it was the liaison, for the community liaison, the one that was there when, the title was like that before. So, there's a lot of things that changed the title, not necessarily on the office function. But my concern is, and I don't know if this is a valid question to the BA or Madam Chief of Staff, I know you do a great job in your position, but when you stated, salary increase, are you talking past or are you talking future budget, this future budget getting approved? If it represents salary increase, but it's not taking effect yet, correct?
Correct.
Can somebody clarify that for me?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes, that is correct, Councilman.
So those salary increase that you spoke about, that I see in this paperwork, have not taken, taken post at this point. Nobody's getting salary at this point, unless we approve, this budget, then they get the salary, correct, increase, correct?
Correct.
So you don't mind if I go a little bit deeper, just to clarify, the audience out there. Can somebody tell me what was the confidential aid to the mayor before, this budget? Salary? Madam Mayor?
That'd be it. Do you want me to answer that or?
Sure, you-
you can answer it? Okay, so prior to that particular line being filled, there was a decrease in that line from the last budget. Because if I'm not mistaken, excuse me, that line I think carried $100,000, am I correct, Madam Mayor? Okay.
Yep,
How
so that was
much-
from, not for the TY budget.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, how much let's go, you could say this, it was probably, you was the past, how you call it, you was the past, aide for mayor before the MBA. How much was your salary when you was there?
So when I was there, it was $100,000, just what the chief of staff said.
Okay, so, now, Madam, and this is just to educate myself when I'm with the process of the words that Madam, Chief of Staff stated. She also stated that one position is getting eliminated, late, Mr. Cotton position, but I see it here in fiscal year and also in calendar year as 80, if that's the one, no, it's not the one?
No, it's not. Councilman,
Okay.
that position that you are referring to is the $6,000. And if you look at
Oh,
the
yeah.
line item, that you will see that it is backed out.
Correct. Is any of the salary increases that is representing in this budget, are contractual?
Yes, it would be the ones for public information officers, the clerk too, all the ones who are not the exempt positions would be the mayor. Confidential aid are the ones that are not contractual. So any of the other positions are the ones where you see some of the increases. So
So
for
that's
example, the clerk 3, that was a result of a desk audit and a contractual increase. So that's why it's more than just the regular 2% or 1% reflected in this budget.
So last but not least, are you creating any new position with this budget if it get approved?
The only ones would be the interns. And again, that was moving the budget line from recreation over to the mayor's office and moving forward with having them staffed all throughout City Hall, possibly even 125 Ellison. It's, giving college kids experience and being able to utilize support especially for offices.
now that we're not having, going to the office and being in office and working from home, due to COVID-19, do we really need those interns at this, as we speak?
Well, it's unlikely we're gonna move forward with a hiring for January, that's for sure. So by the time this appears for you in introduction, that line would be decreased. Because we were already thinking about 5, we knocked it down to 3. One of the things, just as a note, that we found was really helpful with some of the interns, they provided support for our offices, even just for, sitting at the front desk in the mayor's office, in the law department, in the VA's office, when people were out on leaves, when people in the early days were sick, that those people were able to fill in some of the gaps. And again, it's not a full position, it's no benefits. So that level of support is helpful having around, even when we're in limited staffing. But it is unlikely that we would move forward with posting those jobs in January.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Can hear you.
Council President.
So last time this was presented, we did not, I personally feel strongly that we should not, fund those positions for the interns. An increase is an increase, it doesn't matter how you draw it. We have many areas in need. We've been talking about having inspectors forever. We have a lot of need in the city. Although it's, 3 positions, it still sends the wrong message, it's still the mayor's office. We got crucified when we tried to hire, aides last time. And I still feel that, we should not fund those positions. And that's just it. That's just my personal feeling.
Council President.
Councilman Mendes.
Sure, thank you. And just to move on before with those positions, I just want to have some clarity on because as somebody mentioned before, some of those positions, they just, Councilman Velez mentioned those positions, they change title. I just want to be fully informed about those 4 positions. The public information officer, is this position new or there was somebody before here with a different title?
That position has been here since fiscal year 20.
Who was this position was occupied before?
Yes, it's currently occupied.
It was.
No. Councilman. She answered your question, but you didn't understand. She said that it was occupied fiscal year 20. That means it is new. As of last fiscal year.
As a last.
No,
1 year.
so a year and a half ago.
Year and a half ago, so it's new to this administration.
Apple, this
Yes.
position is new to the administration, that's one. And community service working.
That's the constituent services person. So that position existed prior. And one thing I'd like to clarify, we actually had multiple secretaries in the office. So we had 3 different secretaries in the office when we first started, and that dropped down to 2. And that's why we were able to hire the public information officer. So again, we weren't adding additional bodies within the various positions.
What about office supervisor that is now, what I see was $70,000, 700 over budget?
Correct, so that was the administrative secretary for the mayor, and that position has existed for a while. Again, it's an expansion of that role into the office supervisor position.
And if I might add to that, Councilman, it's not that the positions were, that position did exist, it's just that it's been retitled. If that helps.
Just in closing, I know we're moving on with the budget, we have a lot of different line items to talk about it. I just definitely support Council President on the term that that position, $45,000 in increase, and we have to save every dollar. I understand and I know that there's other department in need of more personnel, but it definitely sent the wrong message. But I got the information. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well,
Council President,
Councilwoman Cotton, and I hear Councilman Jackson. So Councilwoman Cotton, you go first.
All right, just want to let you know that I'm here, but you see me on. But was there any special reason why you needed to change the title? Say even for community service worker, he was considered constituent service. Was there any special reason why it needed to be changed from constituent services to community service worker?
Sure, some of these were because of the civil service regulations around this that there was somebody sitting in that title, so we had to find a similar title.
Oh, somebody, similar, right?
Yeah, someone from the previous administration
Right.
is sitting in that title.
Right, so now community service worker is the civil service title, right?
Yep.
Right, so what if somebody that's already on the list that might be higher than, the person that's there now?
Well, that one did not have a list, and there are some titles you can have more than one within the city, and other titles you can only have one. Like confidential aid to the mayor is one of those titles you can only have one in the city.
Okay,
But community service worker, there can be multiple ones, along with some of the other ones as well.
and so the public information officer, that's not a civil service?
I think it is the civil service
Yes, it
title, and
is.
that's one of the ones that can only be, I believe, one per city.
Oh, one per city, so, the person that's there now, did she take a test?
She did, yep, the test came up within her time being here. So I believe there is now a list that was populated.
Okay, all right. I have to agree to that. I don't think that we need to do the insurance now. With everything that's going on, I don't think that we need those 3 interns. Because the 3 interns, how much they making? 15,000?
Yes.
Over the course of the year, yep.
15,000 apiece. All right, thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Council President. First, let me begin by welcoming back Councilman Mendez and Councilman Shaheen Khalid. As I'm observing, it's very refreshing to just see you guys being able to engage and add a level of accountability. So, respect to both of you. I'm happy to have you back aboard. Question, Madam BA. These positions that are being added, regardless of whatever positions, all the positions that we're talking about, is there an outline of job descriptions that accompany these roles?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're not adding anything new in this year, other than the only thing would have been the interns. But we've heard some of the feedback on that.
Well, we just talked about a position that was newly added. I know you said it was back in 2020, which was still in 2020. So it was added possibly for the last portion of the past 6 months. But all the positions, including the positions within the mayor's office, which confidential aid was a new ad, chief of staff was a new ad. So specifically, for let's say, for example, for the position of chief of staff, is there a job description and or list of required duties that's outlined for the position?
Well, actually, that would be the one that has had some adjustments to it. The other ones that are the official civil service titles, like we go by the public information officer, civil service listing, office supervisor, etc. But we don't have, we have more of an outline of what each of the chief of staffs have done for this administration.
So
would you like to see, kind of an outline of that? Because we can provide that to you.
I would like to see a job description for every position within that division.
Okay.
Please, if you can, and including the VA's position and that's your office. So for the administration, you can start with the administration for now. Now, a moment ago, you referenced a desk audit. Who exactly performed this desk audit?
That one was done.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yep, that one was done in conjunction with civil service, which
So,
is how most desk audits are done. Yeah.
Well, I know it's either we wait for the state to respond, and or a desk audit is done internally within personnel. So this specific desk audit that you referenced a moment ago, who can we get a copy of that? Whatever was returned back from civil service, please.
Sure. This was in connection. I can give you that. This was in collaboration with one of the unions, so I will make a note of that.
Well, I mean, what I'm concerned about is if there's an outline or an audit that was performed by the state. If there was not, then please elaborate or let me know exactly who performed or how this desk audit was performed. Considering there was there was findings for need to reduce that person's salary, correct?
No, it wasn't to reduce, it was to increase.
To increase. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so the way that most of the desk audits have worked here is that the employees bring them forward to their supervisors in their department. And then they have a conversation about those responsibilities. Sometimes the union will bring it forward on behalf of the employee and have a conversation with the administration on the union side. And so the union might set up a meeting and say, I have these 3 desk audits that we would like to present, and have a conversation about before we submit them to civil service for, a finding on their part. Sometimes they submit them right away, and then civil service will come back with a finding. So I'll have to look and see if this was something that was negotiated just between the union and the administration, or if it was something that was given an official civil service stamp on it saying, yes, we do agree with this finding and you have to implement this. The challenge we've been finding on the civil service side is that they're really slow and they're very backed up right now, in part because they did a staggered schedule for COVID. So the unions have been asking us, can you just agree with us now, and can we just have these side conversations and you put people in new titles, or you fix if you agree to this, we will take it out of our official grievance with civil service, because they said they're not going to get to it for another 2 months.
So my concern here, council members and council president, is the fact that, and I appreciate the analysis, Madam BA, but technically, there's either only 1 or 2 desk orders. Either it's done internally within the administration, whether it's through personnel or the administration, or with the or with the conversation in collaboration with the union, or it's done by the state. Now, the state, if they do a desk audit, they provide a complete outline on their letterhead, which specifically outlines not only the job duties and requirements, but the title in which the person should be placed in. So there's a very distinct difference. It's only 2 differences, it's not multiple variations of it. It's either it was done internally or it was done by the state. So, I'm specifically asking to see the desk audit that was performed on whichever this position we're in question. My concern is that whichever desk audits are being done, that's being done internally, that there's a potential of an unfair practice, and I'm concerned also of the administration's lack of follow through when when specific desk orders are filed and shown by the state to read one thing. For example, I saw the desk order that came through for the Division of Zoning. I know we're not talking about that, but I'm concerned that we are allowing ourselves to be opened up for potential lawsuits because of the unfair practices. Specifically, when we talk about the position of chief of staff, the fact that the position paid in the past $100,000, and then there was a substantial reduction, without any outline and description of job requirements, job description, credential requirements, and so on and so forth, talks about a disparity in treatment. And I'm curious to understand the administration's position on how these decisions are being derived, so that down the line, the community doesn't have to pay handsomely for grievances that are only going to eventually be settled. So this is a very big concern of mine, and I'm glad we have an opportunity now to address this within the division of administration, because this is the division that should be leading by example. So the fact that we talked about early, 2.5 years ago, when this administration came on, you specifically, Madam BA, you talked about doing um, performance reviews, evaluations, setting forth criteria for job requirements. That all begins with a job description. And if there is no job description, then that talks about, we're waking up today and telling the person to go do this, and tomorrow they'll be doing something completely different. And that is one unacceptable, and it also is, putting the city at in a detrimental position. And council members, I think this is something that we really need to pay close attention to as we're allowing or approving for these additional positions to be added. They have to come with a certain level of responsibility. The administration should be telling us specifically why this position is needed, especially in the financial condition that we're in. So, Madam, I look forward to those reports. And just as a friendly reminder, I also requested a list of all of the lawsuits that was filed within the last, since since this administration took over by employees against the administration. I just want to put a quick snapshot because I think it lines up with the budget frugalness or prudency that this council needs to take on. So I appreciate the opportunity, Council President, and I hope that there's a level of accountability in some of the questioning and making sure that these requests are fulfilled.
So we're ready to move on, Madam BA,
I had a question, Council President.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Mims.
And so, there's been a lot of dialogue. There's a few concerns when we talk about the office supervisor and the increase of 5,000, community service work, I believe you said 10,000. One of the things I've been asking for and have been requesting are two things: need-based assessment as well as the performance evaluation reviews. The problem I have is when we do increases, unless it's union contractual through bargaining agreements, the problem I have is how do we quantify the level of increase that is provided? I think it started off the questions with Councilman Mendez when he asked the question about the exorbitant amount of fees coming out of this office and the amount of about $289,000 when some of these positions can be streamlined. We have someone that's doing community service work. We have someone that is the aide to the mayor. You have an office supervisor, and we also now have a senior communications specialist, which is probably in these documents at some point. So the question becomes, and I just put it to the council, to take a look at all of these positions, and I think it was great that Councilman Jackson said, what are the job descriptions? Because maybe there's an overlap in some of the work that's being done, and we can streamline, because I think there's a lot of top heavy that's going on, and we're increasing and saying, okay, let's do this. No, we don't want you to do that. So we need to identify all of these positions and take a look at, is there a possible way of streamlining positions? Because why do we need a community service worker, chief of staff, office supervisor, and then a senior communications specialist, which was a part of the budget hearing process, and we have not went through approval, and we got an email saying to us as council members, I want to introduce myself, I'm welcome to the team. So those are some concerns. If we're going through budget hearing process, how do we get emails from individuals that are being hired, or we are in a budget hearing process and then jobs are being posted? So that's a serious concern that I think we need to really take a look at. To my council members, council president, very serious concern that's going on with the budget hearing process and the way that we're not being respected as council members.
So
Council
Councilman,
President,
hold on a minute. So Councilman Mendez, if you notice, we spent almost 40 minutes on just the mayors. And don't forget, we have a meeting tonight, at 9 o'clock. So the next departments, we need to ask the questions, but we need to expedite it. Basically, the administration already understands what we're looking for. So we don't have to relive, the same, discussion pertaining to practices. We already put it out there. So let's, I'll let you speak now, Madam PA.
Sure, I'll be real brief. And I think,
Before you begin, I'm sorry, Mr. President, the special meeting begins at 8:30, not 9.
8:30, so we got to hurry up.
Yeah, 8:30, I'm sorry. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. President.
sure, and I'll be real brief here, and Councilwoman Mims, I think you're correct, and I think this was one of the things we did in this office almost immediately, and I referenced it earlier. Traditionally, there were 3 secretaries in that office, in the mayor's office, handling different matters, but there were 3. And we thought that that would be a good opportunity, as one was retiring, to change that position into a public information officer that really just focused on the media and in communications and getting all the information out about the city, as well as communications writ large around the city. So that was one of our very first things that we did in terms of our needs-based assessment. The second thing you noted was about the community relations specialist and the position in the mayor's office. We did not circumvent anything about the budget hearings, and we absolutely wouldn't do that. This is a position that we had talked about, that is the cultural affairs position. And if Council President, if you want to move to 1090, if we want to skip to page 17 and 18, because the chief of staff can speak to that too, those budget.
But the thing is, Madam DA, and we want to continue, but the thing that gets to us is sometimes we feel disrespected. And that's why when when your budgets come up, I told you already, don't count on my vote, and I'll put it on right now, because we spoke to you about not having a position in recreation for like $70,000. You move that person anyway to that department. There is also the position you just mentioned right now, the communications, what is the title? I'm sorry, the
Senior communication person.
Public Information Officer. Does that person update the website?
They do some of the website updates as well.
Yeah.
Ryan does, our IT department does some, and the PIO does some as well.
Okay. So let's continue to the next department. We already discussed this with the mayor's office. Let's go to the next one right now.
Do we want to, while we have Della here, do we want to skip to 1090, because that is the extension of the mayor's office? And then she would be done and we can move on to the city council. So that starts on page 17 of your packet.
Now let's just go in the order that we're in. That way we
Okay.
The city council's office.
Mr. President.
Who's going to speak on behalf of the council president? The council or the city clerk.
Council President, before we start, thank you, and I'm going to mute myself. Thank you again.
Thank you,
The
Della.
entire council, thank you.
Yes, Mr. President and council members. I don't think there's any much changes for the city council office or the city clerk on my end. I'm just waiting to hire an additional person in the council office and another person in the city clerk office.
Council President.
Yes, Councilman Velez.
Council President, as you know, a lot of us visit the office of the Council President, the Council. We are short change here for longest in our Council office of secretaries, and also in the City Clerk office. When and this is one of my questions. In the past, that we have budget for hiring in the city council office, but hey, when they gonna give it the green light, we here now with the same budget, almost the same. Matter of fact, yes, just $3,000 over.
What is it you're looking for, Councilman?
I'm looking to see when it's gonna really be completed, that they get a green light and the Madam Clerk don't get, no roadblocks, hiring the individual that we need.
So Councilman Velez, just so you know, Madam Clerk has her own budget. This is the council's budget.
I know,
Hold on a minute.
but it's higher by Madam Clerk.
Understood, but we have 4 secretaries right now. And I don't think it would be prudent at this time for us to also ask for another secretary when we all decided to have aides now, right? So we have 4 secretaries and we have our aides. That budget has increased over the last 2 years, the equivalent of those secretaries, of those aides. So.
Yeah, but let me interject for a minute, just a little bit into that, and I don't want to go into who need them or not need them, and that was my point clear when we started the conversation about the aides in the city. I'm not gonna judge who's need them or not need them, but one thing I have to say is that if you have your if the city council has aides at the same time they're gonna use the secretary, so it's the same thing. But in this case, we are short a secretary. I am short my secretary, okay, that is a bilingual secretary, okay, in the office, that used to assist every secretary there when our office used to have those callers that are only Spanish speaking, and even every council member could testify how needed is to have a bilingual secretary in our office. I just want to say that I'm the one of those that do not have an aide, but at the same time I'm bombing the secretary that we have now, okay, with a lot of work, and it's not fair for them. And also, sometimes when they receive call for constituents speaking Spanish, they have to go run and get Paula,
So,
and
Councilman,
yeah,
you made your point. Let's let Madam DA, address the situation.
correct.
Sure. Yes, thank you, Council President. For the, Councilman Velez, to your point, if you look at that first page, that first line of administrative secretary, we did freeze that hiring for the TY year. But as you can see, the hearing this time in May was 5. We kept that hiring frozen at 4 for the TY year, but we do have that up to 5 for beginning in January, so that you have full secretarial staff in the city council office. We're doing something similar in the clerk's budget as well. But an item of note here, we have kept in for the hearings. We always do this because we want to check one final time with all the council members about their legislative aides. So Councilman Velez, we have one in here for you. If you still do not want one, we can take that out of this budget. But we have one, that isn't backed out as of right now, but then we can back it out if you're not interested. And for our returning councilmen, you can let us know how you would like to structure yours, because there's some difference in how the other council members have structured theirs. If you want to let us know, we can.
Well, I'm gonna make it public now. I do not need an aide. You could strike that 25,000 out of the budget, okay? I do not need an aide. You could I wanna cost saving in our office, city council, so I'm $25,000 cutting from this budget, and the other thing is, and once again, I'm not gonna judge nobody who need it or no need it. I stand in my position. I do not need it. There's something, Madam BA, that you mentioned, but I don't know. Are they planning to eliminate a council member, because I see they budget fiscal year 8 and they still count the year 8. So we are 9 council members. Are we cutting one?
Right. This is the prior document. So
Oh.
we will have it updated with the appropriate numbers. We still have Councilman Chowdhury's, his aid structure as well. So we will change that for whatever the council wishes for the introduction.
Okay, I just want to make sure they don't eliminate me as a
Yeah.
council member. Yeah.
And we also listened, sorry, Council President.
In the interest of time, it was already clear that, so it's an additional secretary is coming on board that has been, that was there before, but the position is vacant now. So it was no effect on the budget when it came to the secretary. And at the same time, Councilman Velez wanted to reduce, his aide position by 25. Could we move on to the next,
And also, Council President, can I just also say, we listened to your concerns about the accounts for the operating expenses for each of the council members as well. So that has increased from the 1,500 to the 3,000 on the OE size, page 5.
What was that again? What was that?
For the record, that line has always been $3,000. There was one year where we were contemplating maybe making some reductions, that we brought it down to 1,500, given that those lines have not been used often by the council members. Again, if any of you wants to decrease those lines,
Yeah, I want to decrease this to 1,500 back again.
it's your call.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
Council members can let us know about that. I think that it's been that way since
You wanna decrease your,
2019.
We can let the administration know later on that $3,000 that we want to decrease or not. Could we continue now, Madam Vice, to the next one, please?
All right, you want to decrease, you will speak to the DA about that at a later time.
I'll make my public now.
You have a couple of hands that are raised. You have Councilman Mendez and Councilman Cotton's hand raised.
right,
I'm sorry, thank you, Council President. I know that we've been talking about the secretary that we need on the clerk's office, but I'm moving to the clerk, department, and I see that we're budgeting $60,000. So we clear that, those $60,000 are,
We're going there now, that's next.
oh, that's that, oh, because we're already talking about that topic, I just wanna try to,
You're gonna go there now.
I'll wait there, no problem, thank you.
Time?
oh, no, I'm talking about, Councilman Velez said he wants to drop the, to 1,500 for each council people or just for yourself?
No, I will drop my expenses to zero. Zero, I want zero, I don't want nothing.
Right, and we're all short of we're short of secretary, in this office, but I can truly say that our council, our secretaries that are here now, the ladies, they go above and beyond helping us, what we need to get done, so, there's certain things that they extremely do, so,
We have a radio.
we still need the other secretary in this office.
Well, let's continue, Madam Clerk.
Okay, are we moving on to page 6?
Yes.
Okay, so page 6 in the city clerk's office, you have the clerk, the assistant clerk, and I have only 2 secretaries in my office, which I'm working to get one other secretary to be hired. And also, if you see the audio-visual supervisor, that's Mr. Ming for the cable. And the mail clerk, there are 2 people in a mail room. Was there a question from Councilman Mendez on one of the positions?
Yes, I know that, I went over the personnel. I just have a question. I got 2 questions, and I'll make 2 questions this time at one. I did need some outside service. We're budgeting, I know we budgeted in the past 85,700, now we're budgeting 83,600. I just need some clarity when it comes to outside service, how we're spending those dollars, and also, since we've been talking about the secretary, so I see that we budget $80,000, we took 20,000, so we have $60,000 for the secretary in the clerk office, and I'd like to just put it out there here for you, Madam Clerk, what is the plan with this, with those $60,000? What are we planning to do, and if there is a need of the secretary, since Councilman Rivera spoke about the A, and we have the A now, and I'm back now. I would like to hear from you. What is the how will look, and what are you planning to do with those funding, with those 60,000? Just those 2 questions. Thank you.
Are you mean for the city clerk's office?
That is correct.
The city clerk's office, I only have 2 secretaries. I need another secretary because I am overwhelmed with Oprah requests. So I need someone to assist with Oprah. I have the other 2 ladies that I have here who's working with my deputy with the Oprahs. There are other things that the clerk's office handles, election, etc., etc. So I actually need another person in here. I have to take care of billings. I have to have one of the 2 secretaries. I have to teach her or have someone train her how to handle the bills, both for the city council office and the city clerk's office.
And Madam Clerk,
Council President.
outside services, they're the stenographer, I believe?
Outside services, I have a list here. That's the Melinda, correct. And we also have it like Treasure Island, where we archive our documents.
Okay. So all your outside services is combined into 83,600 for the next fiscal budget, is that correct?
Yes, I combined everything, yes, sir.
Yeah, for the next budget,
Yes.
it's gonna be calendar budget, calendar year budget. Councilmember Les.
Madam Clerk, thank you for your, thank you for your highlight, in your office. We are fully aware, the council is fully aware that you've been understaffing for the past 3 years. For the past 3 years. And I see the hard work you've been doing in the office, but are you planning to hire a part-time secretary?
Not a part-time, I need a full-time secretary,
I
actually.
know, but I see a 3.5 there, that's why.
I think I think it has to do with because of the year, because we went into calendar.
Oh, I got you.
Finance will be able to explain that much better than I do. Because remember, we're closing out this year at the end of December, and we begin our calendar year in January.
Correct. Madam Clerk, question, and I just wanna, I know the other expenses are numbers that we could put on in a paper, but, we try to not go over in expending. But how many cell phones do city clerk have?
Okay, city clerk's office I have a cell phone. Mr. Ming has a phone. Andre and Mohammed that works in the mail room.
Okay,
Another person that assisted in the mail room and also works for the police department who assists us in the mail room. And over the years, the clerk's office was paying for that service.
okay. Last but not least, Madam Clerk, is any of this, budget represent, salary increase, contraction?
No, sir, there's no salary increase unless there's the 2% that may be contractual.
Correct.
That should supposedly coming up, but there's no increase from my end to end of my secretary.
Madam Clerk, thank you for representing budget saving in your full office. Thank you.
I fight my best with my budget, and I know I'm really understaffed, but I
Right.
work with what we have. It's really tough here, but we are surviving.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm only gonna use this as a segue. Madam VA, I actually asked about a year ago for analysis of cell phones to be done, and I know you guys were working on it. I got something from you, but the next step was to give me an update of how many of them were canceled. We needed to identify every department that had cell phones. I knew that there were secretaries that had cell phones, and many other people in the city that had cell phones that I just didn't see a reason for them to have a cell phone when they have a 8:30 to 4:30 job in a desk.
Yep, you're correct, Council President, and we're working on that project right now. It had to be put on pause while we were finished doing the budget hearings and doing all the budget prep work, but that is, I know actually our assistant PA who was on the line was working on that even today.
Madam, Council President.
Hold on a minute, Councilman. Councilwoman Khan.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to ask Madam Clerk, if she could explain, reference books are, and for her expenses.
Those are the books that for the clerks, like
Cause you went from 500 to 7,500.
reference books. I would have to ask the
And my last one, what's the mail room expenses? Would that be the postage?
that's the mail room expenses. That's the machine, the machine in the mail room. So we have to lease that over the years. Pay. I think it's done every 3 months.
Oh, so you're not asking for no money now for 2021?
This is what I always have in place. If there's any increase from the picnic balls, they will give it to us every year. So
Right.
I'm not asking for anything different. This is just for the rental of that machine in the mail room.
Well, they got zero there, Madam Clerk.
Where yeah, you're correct.
They got zero.
So if that's something you need, Madam Clerk, we can make that adjustment.
No, I think we combined. Hold on, I think we placed it in the I think we put it with the city council machine, picnic balls,
Yeah, we have council members, we have a tremendous increase in our council budget. It went from, I think what happened is the lease payments were transferred
yes,
to council budget. So we
yes,
have,
I'm looking at it, Mr. President. Yes, we transferred it to the city council office.
so we went from 13,000 to 29,000 in the council's budget for,
Okay.
office equipment, so that's what it is.
Oh, this is what it is. There's a machine in the city council office, there's a machine in the council president's office, and also the ones from the mail room. So we combine all three and we bill that to the city council. For the city clerk's copy machine, we put that on the city council account.
Okay, Councilman Kalik?
Thank you, Council President. I have a question from MBA. Who oversee our council department, meaning the council secretaries and everybody else?
That would be Madam Clerk.
But why not combine that portion of the budget with the? Is it possible to combine with the Madam Clerk budget so she could have that whole department by herself, council secretaries and so forth?
No.
Since she's watching them already, I asked.
You cannot do that.
I asked.
Council members, hold on a minute, Councilman Kalik. Council members, come on. Everyone's entitled to make a suggestion. We don't have to jump on our colleagues because someone is making a suggestion. Let him speak his mind and then let him get a response from the administration. That's it.
So in other words,
Go ahead.
she could have more staffing. We have 4 secretaries already. I mean, if that secretary go over, they are already under Madam Clerk. She's watching them. She giving them assignments as well, right or wrong.
Correct.
So might as well let them to the clerk budget. I think it's a fair question. I think Madam BA could answer me. Is that possible to look into? It's not that you have to do it, but
Sure, Councilman, we can examine it. I think the challenge, and Madam Clerk can speak to how she might cross-utilize. I do know that she does do that. That there are times that she might need more assistance on the clerk side. There are times in preparation for council meetings, she needs more assistance on the council side. But I think it talks about their primary job responsibility connected to a certain division. But I can look into it.
thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Councilman, thank you, Madam BA. Could we continue now to the next, division? So,
Madam Clerk, this is elections, 1016.
so before we give an explanation, elections, basically stayed almost the same except for the other expense. So what's the change there, Madam Clerk?
The elections, it varies and it based on what we do. Because of these mailings and provisional ballots, we were billed more at this past election, which I don't think we have gotten all the bills yet because everything is not completed. So based on that machine votes and the provisional and mail-in ballots, some of those expenses had gone to the clerk's office.
Thank you.
I have to handle the Paterson portion of it. Say my second and third ward, everything that is done in the election for second and third ward, that expense comes to the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Could we go to the next into insurance?
Council President,
Councilman Velez.
I just had a simple question because Madam Clerk says that we have expanded from the election. Just in case, do we receive any funding from the county, state when we have election to move forward with this special election, this and that, or no?
No, actually, municipal election is strictly for the city, not the county. So whatever expense they may take on, they will bill me back for municipal.
So all the expenses was on the municipal council election.
Right, when I have municipal election, but this year, we have that special election that was held in the general election for second and third ward. So whatever expense from that second and third ward that will come back to me. I will have to take.
So the Board of Ed also fall into our expenses,
No,
right?
not the Board of Education, no, I don't, no. If I do anything for Board of Ed, that would be different. No, I don't handle the Board of Education.
Okay, all right.
But there are certain things that, like they take care of the ramps throughout the city. And if it's the county normally reimburse the city, and I normally give them back what they're supposed to pay, and they would reimburse.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council President, one quick thing before we move on, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this earlier, and I know this is just a refresher and for our new, our returning councilman. For everyone who has a council aide, we need to be submitting timesheets. We would ask that we gave a template that allows you to do so that there are records for that. So please, that's very important for just kind of the transparency of the office. Additionally, if for the expense account, we do ask that all of those expenses are not reimbursed expenses, so that you go through the process of kind of getting the invoice, having one of the secretaries in the clerk's office process the POs, and to pay the vendors directly, not to have it be something that then we reimburse. That's kind of a standard practice that we're having across the board for all city employees as well. So thank you, Council President.
Council President, this is a quick question about the election.
Councilman Mendes.
Sure, thank you, Council President. So, Madam Clerk, so on the primary election, we will spending, we have $60,000 on the primary election. Municipal election, $150,000, and also general election, we've been billed with $30,000. What are we getting reimbursed from these three line items? Because I see that we're getting, so the calendar year for the appropriation for the election is $244,700. So it's $114,700 more. What are we getting reimbursement? What number based on those lines?
Councilman, it's hard for me to give an exact figure for the elections. I always just put an estimated amount based on the election. I don't know how much I will spend, or there are just certain things that I get reimbursement from for certain elections from the county. As I said about the ramps, and I just don't know off my head right now. But some of the like taxi cab where they have standbys. But these are just figures that I placed here. These are not the exact figures because I don't know this in my head how much it's going to cost for each election until I get to the elections. So I always try to keep a certain amount of money there so that I can have enough money to cover the cost when I get the bills from the superintendent of elections, the board of elections, or the county clerk, and also what comes from my end.
When you get the final number, I'd like to have it.
So when I get the bills from all the various entities, I will make sure you get a copy.
Right, can we continue, please? And the next one, insurance.
Page 10.
Yes, and for these, I would like to just turn this over the next couple ones to our CFO, who can walk you through, but you'll see there aren't very many changes here. Marge, are you able to jump on?
So I still see that she's muted, but I have a question. What is the difference? Why you have two positions? You have an employee benefit specialist and insurance manager. And then you have a benefits clerk also in the personnel office. I come from an entity that you don't have so many people, So I want to know what are the difference? Why so many?
Again, I can let our CFO go into details. I do know that there is quite a bit of work in that office. There, not only is it dealing with our brokers, but it is dealing with employee issues. Some of that on this side, as well as some of it within personnel. A lot of the benefits in the personnel side is more kind of the initial sign up, and then a lot of this is detailing any, troubleshooting issues. But we'll let Marge detail this.
Okay, hi, sorry, I couldn't find I was in another screen and I couldn't find to get back in to unmute. Okay, are we into the insurance right now?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
My initial question is,
So,
what is the function of the employee benefit specialist and the insurance manager?
okay, so the insurance manager basically oversees all aspects of the insurances of the city. Our health benefits insurance, our workers' compensation
So,
Yes.
we're in the state plan right now. I understand we were self-insured. But do we have a broker for this? Mark?
Well, no, the broker deals with, obtaining, policies for us, which we have probably about, 10 policies, in addition to being self-insured for workers' comp and general liability.
I'm sorry to cut you off. So tell me what does the employee benefits specialist does?
And so,
You try to be specific, that way I get an idea.
yeah, the employee benefit specialist deals primarily with all of our retirees and their enrollments and all the issues that they have with, their plans that they're participating in.
Okay, and the insurance manager?
And again, the insurance managers over all the insurances are health benefits, which includes, major medical, dental, eyeglass, prescription, et cetera.
Steve, what do you mean? I don't want to know a specific function that person.
Oh, well, since we are with the state health benefit, we still have to establish, the premiums. Like each year when we get a rate from the state, now that we're participating in the state, they give us a premium. And then we have to do the calculations on what those actual costs would be for the budget to make sure that people that are enrolled in the program as employees and dependents of the employees, as well as the other categories of employees that aren't necessarily in the state health benefit plan, such as retirees. So she oversees all of the work of the employee benefit specialist. She is involved directly with all of our brokers and our third-party administrators. So any of the claims that go through workers' comp and liability are passed through the manager.
Okay. So council members, this budget didn't change much. Can we go to, okay, Councilman Cotton?
Mr. President.
And, with the insurance manager, she's the one that, makes sure that everybody is insured, that should be insured.
Yes.
The person that does that, but, there've been court, I shouldn't say court, but there've been some times where employees were caught, they should not have been covered, or their spouse shouldn't have been covered, or their children shouldn't have been covered. Now, let me ask you, once they catch people that does that, do we try to get the money back from them?
Yes.
And so if not do that, you go to court?
No, if the employee is still working with us, then we make an arrangement to have their payroll deducted. And if the employee leaves our employment, then we have to make arrangements. But generally, I don't think we've ever had to sue a former employee to collect.
Oh no, Marge, they don't listen, people, Marge. I know they have. They have caught people who should not have been sued.
No, I said, I don't think we pursued it through legal means.
Oh, okay, they know they got caught.
Well, no, there's people that get caught that are, they have dependents that are no longer dependents or, right.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Mendes?
Sure, and on page 12, consulting services, we allocating $160,000. Can you be more specific about what type of service are we getting with those $160,000?
Yes, so those consulting fees include the fees to our insurance broker, as well as our third-party administrator. So each year, we hired a third-party administrator to oversee the claims that go through our workers' compensation insurance and our liability insurance, which are the tort claims.
Wow. And the last question that I have, I see that on miscellaneous, we allocating $5,428,452 dollars on miscellaneous. This is from the COVID-19 fund?
No, what that was, Councilman, in fiscal year '21, we had proposed to pay provide for, when we flipped from the self-insurance plan to the state health benefit, in order to not have overlapping costs, to double up on the cost for the first 2 months, the state health benefit program allowed us to enroll and deferred those 2 months of insurance costs, the premiums. So that was what that was.
So council members, can I just point something out, something that I think is important for us to understand? I understand we're diving into this, because it's good to understand every line item here, but in the actual budget that we approved and that gets introduced for us, there's only 2 lines, right? One for salary and one for other expense. The other expense is about 41, $42 million. So even if they want to increase the expenses in any of those lines, we will not see it. We're authorizing it because it's part of the 40-something million, just so you know. It is good to understand the lines, but that doesn't prevent them from spending more on any of these items, just so you know. I just wanted to put that on the record. Can we continue, Madam Clerk? Actually, Madam VA, let's go to the next one. So the next one is,
Workers' compensation, 1073.
that remained the same. Do we have any questions on the workers' comp line? Let's continue, Madam VA. Still $2.9 million.
Okay, and then the last insurance account is the liability insurance, 1074. And that's all for all of our tort claims that take place in the city. Professional liability, slip and falls, bad employees, etc. Other types of claims.
So this is our litigation account?
Essentially, yes. Mm-hmm.
So, I know Corporation Counsel is in the meeting. I remember when you took office, you actually said something that I actually appreciated, was that anytime you want to issue contracts, exceeding 17.5, I think it was, for the lawyers, anytime you want to increase those, litigation sometimes extends, and you have a need to exceed whatever amount you allocated for those cases, then you will come before the council. Are we still doing that?
Yes, so anybody whose contract is above what we initially awarded, we have to come back before council. Additionally, you'll see when we get to my budget, a lot of the work has moved back inside house because we've got attorneys who work for the city. There's no reason why we can't utilize those attorneys to handle some of these cases.
All right, thank you very much.
I would like to add a footnote here under the liability insurance. In the $3,750,000, we have approximately 1.64 million that is attributable to the premium and the administrative fees on those policies. We right now are awaiting a word back from our broker. Unfortunately, the underwriter's business with respect to liability insurance and pertaining to municipal governments in New Jersey, they have indicated that the market has become hard. So we are facing the potential to not have any type of premium policies for all of these or some of them. In that case, we would have to switch over to a complete self-insured liability litigation account, which would encompass having to reboot the insurance fund commission. And so we can talk more about that. I'll know hopefully by next week whether or not we're going to be underwritten. And if so, this goes away. If not, then we have to jumpstart that very quickly.
Thank you, Marge. Well, Councilwoman Gunn.
Marge, we keep, and I know we have to, say for the last 3 years, do you have a record of how much, insurance premiums, not premiums, but how much medical bills were paid for the city of Paterson employees? Do you know what that number would be?
We do have that information. I can provide that to you.
Can you share that? Because I want to say to my council colleagues, the reason why maybe our premiums may be going up is because of our high claims that our employees may have, that we might be going above what we thought we would have been going. We're going higher.
Let me clarify for you, Councilwoman, and the rest of the council present. This insurance that I just spoke to is liability insurance. What you're speaking about, Councilwoman, is the health benefits. So because we went to the state, we saved significant dollars by enrolling our employees and retirees in the state health benefit plan to the tune of over $20 million.
Okay.
We are still experiencing a big savings, and we hope to continue to do so.
Okay.
And we
Now,
still in litigation now, let it be known. We still
it is still in litigation, correct?
All right, thank you, Fran.
let's go to the next one, multicultural affairs. So let me start by saying, what is the function of this division? Because this is the one that I have an issue with. You transferring the person that was here, not the issue with the transfer, the issue with creating a position in recreation. So we, the council, often put additional funds in recreation with the hopes of having additional recreation for the kids. But then we turn around and we hire someone for $70,000 in that office. Now, it is not a new hire because you moved them from this division to recreation after we specified we didn't want to see that happen. So what is the function of this position? Madam VA.
So, I mean, I can answer, but can we have the chief of staff to also respond to this of what they're working on in this office, and I can always jump in. Oh, Della, you're on mute.
I apologize. This position is to handle all of the special events and special groups that we deal with throughout the mayor's office. That is the ultimate role of this individual. They are to handle all of the mayor's special events, all of the flag raisings, things of that nature, and all of the special interest groups that we have that were created to be of a supplement to the city.
So this is the issue that some of the council members brought up. You have all these positions in the mayor's office. This is not his budget, but it's a separate budget, but it's working for his office, right? You have, I'm not gonna go over the titles again in the interest of time, but you have like 3 or 4 positions that could probably perform this function in the mayor's office. You don't have to specify, you don't have to be called cultural affairs. Anyone could do it. You could even do it. The chief of staff could even do this. So why have all these positions is my question. Who raised their hand? I believe it was Councilman Mendez, and for now, just Councilman Mendez.
Right, and Council President, I was very, and I know Councilman Velez message was aligned, but I'm very concerned, and I expressed my concern in the beginning of this budget hearing with all the different four different positions on the mayor's office, and we all need to understand, when you change title, you have to change salary too. We have to be clear on that. And on top of that, we're moving into all the budget, all the department, and at the same time, we're hiring all the staff that is gonna be also in the mayor's office. So I think that's my biggest concern when it comes to new position and personnel. I understand that Ms. Alani is almost to say the same. We have my clerk that, she's working with her budget, but I think that we have to pay attention, Council President, about this. That's my biggest concern right now, without we're moving forward. How many positions we're gonna have at the mayor's office, and when he already have top heavy salary in those positions, and I just mentioned almost $300,000 plus benefit, only in 4 positions, and now I hear that we have another hiring that is going to the mayor's office. So I just need some explanation on this because I'm very concerned, and also taxpayers are extremely concerned as well. Thank you.
Councilman Velez.
Thank you, Council President. I always say that we as legislators, we're not here to tell you what you have to do. We're here to fiscal that you're doing the things right, and making sure that taxpayer money goes aligned with the service. That's what we're here for. My concern is that, and you mentioned the title, you mentioned the job and description of of this individual in the mayor's office, this function's being there for decades. It's not a new thing. It's been there for decades. What we questioning is that, and then Council President said it best, they remove a person to recreation, then they bring somebody new to fill the position that that person had. My question will be, Madam BA and or corporate counsel is here, if there's any grievance filed for this purpose regarding this situation?
Councilman Velez, I would like, we could talk about more details in personnel about grievances or not, but I do want to clarify that the administration has the ability to transfer individuals. It's not something that, we are, within every contract, that is allowed.
But bear with me for a minute, Madam BA. The
Yeah.
administration had the right, and I just stated, has the right to administrate their position in that office. And the directors of every department had the opportunity to do that in their division. But when I hear the old term bumping, they bump into my position or they remove me and brought somebody else when a person was doing that position for many, many, many years. And not only that, had a relation with the community. So I have a problem, and I'm not talking about names, I'm talking about functioning. And I just want to make sure that across the board as a legislator, we doing things balanced, that it will not spike other things to get investigated, or being us as administrator, saying you guys as administrator be investigated, because at the end of the road, it comes and ends in our chambers that we have to pay something that they did unnecessary.
Sure.
And we have to be, and Madam BA, and we have to be making sure that we are fiscally responsible from the beginning, making sure that we don't end in courts, making sure we don't end in compensation, monetary compensation, because we didn't did it. Oh, let me stop here because this is not right to do. Common sense telling me why I want to bump into this person's position when I had somebody there for many, many years. Thank you, Council President.
Councilwoman Mims.
Councilwoman Cotton was before me, Council President.
I didn't see her hand. Councilwoman Cotton.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, I'm listening to what Councilman Velez has said. I'm just curious as to, the person that was in that position, what is she doing in the other position? I don't remember seeing her name,
Councilwoman.
when we did it. That's all. All of us council members know what happened. We all know what happened. It ain't no secret. So to act like it's a secret is not no secret. So I'm just curious as to, for someone that had a relationship with so many people in this city for so many years, then you bring in a new person that she got to learn how to have a relationship with everybody in the city, because she don't have no relationship with nobody in the city. It's just beyond me how you would think that way. That's all. And we all know, but I'm just curious as to the person that was in the position, she's in another position. I'd like to know what she's doing in the other position.
So Councilwoman, this is an administrative function, as she stated. The only problem that I have is that in the other department, we had a conversation. Councilwoman and I and the rest of the council, because we all pushed for it, we decided that we wanted to increase recreation on a yearly basis. Then the administration turns around, and after we had a budget hearing just like this, that's why sometimes I get frustrated, and we said, we basically questioned what we needed last year. A community relations person without any regards to what we said in the previous year, and transfer that person in that office. So, Maria.
Sure, thank you, Council President. And we are going to have disagreements about positions, and that's, we understand that. And you have given us a list of items in this budget that you're asking us to consider. And some of them we're going to come back and make a case for at budget introduction, and some of them we're not. Some of them we are going to listen to your concerns, and we're going to make that adjustment. We thought that this position, the transfer of this employee and the creation of that position within recreation, the employee has great experience in planning events and in facilitating community gatherings. That's necessary as much in recreation as it is, especially during the summer programs, for some of the one-off day in the sun type of events that I know the recreation director was looking to expand. That was similar to what we said before, that some positions existed prior. That type of position existed in recreation prior, not immediately prior, but in some of the years, the more recent years. So this was something that the recreation division director knew could be of help in that division.
You noted that that case was not made when we had a budget hearing. And wait, another note also. We're gonna continue with these budget hearings. And with all due respect, Madam BA, I hope I don't hear from any of your staff that we're hiring people in any of this department because we're the third largest city and we need to hire. That's not a special situation for you. I just wanna make that case because that will be an example where I will stand up, Councilwoman Mims, and you will have to continue the meetings because I don't want to do that again.
I guess, I'm sorry, can you clarify that? I'm not sure I understand.
We'll clarify, and I'm gonna apologize to my council colleagues.
So
So
President,
we're gonna get to personnel in a minute. Personnel, we were all over the newspapers about a year ago because we were hiring one additional staff. And at that time, I guess, the administration had a little respect for the council, and we went back and forth, and the administration made a case for hiring that gentleman. You stated that he had the civil service experience to put together a potential layoff plan at the time, right? So we conceded. We said, you know what? We understand. Go hire them. I noticed recently you posted a few positions for personnel that never existed before.
But, Council President, that's part of this conversation. There are positions for, some of the ones that are posted now are current vacancies, some of them are for January. And that's part of this conversation, and we've had a personnel committee as well. But I'm happy to wait till we get there, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we should. All right, let's continue. So,
I was first.
actually, no, Council.
no, Ms. first,
Councilwoman Mims and Councilman Velez.
Thank you.
Council President,
And Councilman Jackson.
So, I was gonna ask the same question that Councilwoman Cotton asked, with the moving of the employees, and we understand that you're the administration, but the concern is, and I go back to the needs-based assessment and the justification, number one, for the move, what is the new job description of the employee, and the fact that we don't have in place any performance evaluation reviews to justify the need to move and to bring in a new individual, to fulfill a role and to build relationships from where the track record of what has been presented through the administration has been consistent. It's from a certain pool of individuals that are being brought in and is not based on the standard that's in place where for Paterson residents to get a first opportunity at some of these job postings that are placed. But the concern I have is when you have an individual in a role, right, and it's your administrative duty to say, okay, whether we're gonna move, we're gonna bring in, but it's also our legislative opportunity to review what's being presented to us and determine if we're gonna vote in favor of this budget that you're presenting or vote against it. And so that's something that the administration has to take into consideration when we're in these budget hearings for the things that we're saying that you should reconsider. You have someone that's been doing the job for a very, very long time, and you have to give an understanding as to what is the justification for shifting this individual, what is that individual doing now, and the possibility when you do these type of things of lawsuits. Possibility of lawsuits and settlements that cost the city and taxpayers extra amount of money because for whatever reasons, not whatever the issue, not liking the individual, don't like what they're doing, but there's no justification that gives it based on KPIs, key performance measurement indexes that says this is why or this is what they're doing or what they're not doing, and that's a major concern because as legislative body we're voting on these things. We're giving you ideas. You're coming back to us. Some stuff you listen to, and the most of them you may not listen to, but then we have to vote in favor of it, and then later on, we have to deal with, the lawsuits and the settlements that come before because of grievances, as Councilman Velez said. But those are some of the major concerns, how in one area where we're trying to boost morale, right? But when we're moving people and shifting them around to bring someone else to do a job they've been doing for a long time, now it causes them to be in a place where you're lowering morale. You have someone in a salary at $100,000, you bring someone else that works right alongside you in at $85,000, and you're working in the same department. These things we have to be made understood. What is the rationale? What is the needs base? And I totally, Council President, I've talked to you about this privately, so I'm gonna say it openly, if this budget is not fiscally sound, I'm with Council President, you will not have my support. There is too much top-heavy stuff that's going on in this budget. We're in a pandemic. We have some of our employees that have been working for the city for a very, very long time, and they're very underpaid. And we're bringing in people making $60,000 and $70,000 when some of our employees have been working here for 10, 15 years, and they're still not at 60. So that's a major concern to people that have been working that we call to do work day in and day out. So those are some of the things that I think we need to take in consideration. I'm not sure what you presented to personnel, Madam BA. I'm not on that committee, but whatever it is, please send it to me. And send it to the council. The council needs to be privy to what you're discussing, because those are some major concerns, especially when we're sitting in budget hearings and seeing new positions being presented to bring in someone to do the work that someone else has been doing for a very, very long time.
Sure. Council President, may I address that? Thank you, Council President.
Just hold on a minute. Councilman Jackson.
No, it's Velez first.
Councilman.
Yeah, but Councilman Velez was first. Yeah.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Councilman Jackson. I'm not gonna say that I'm not gonna support too early. I can't. What I'm telling, this is the process that we are going through now, and Council President will agree. And Madam BA, please, this budget hearing is not just to expose, and this is what you got, and this is what we have to approve. We want you guys to work with us. We are the one that are receiving the messages of the constituents and the people out there that something is not getting done and something had to get done. The service had to get done. The supply and make sure the A division of our city, the department heads are well taken care of. I understand that. But going back to that office, and because we talking about a position, but the Cultural Affairs Office was created by ordinance in the city of Paterson by the mayor, okay? That office was under the umbrella, I believe was in community development or economic development, correct, right? So, but still, it was an office. It's supposed to have a person, it's supposed to have a secretary, even an assistant. That never happened in the past. It was a one-person show. Now, I agree that probably that office needs to keep on working with the city. We spoke about the relation of the individual with everyone out there. But if I'm going to move somebody from one place, administrative part, right? This is administration. If I as an administrator would move this person to recreation, as you stated, Madam BA, that she's good, this person is good for sun in a day in the sun and all those events for recreation. Let me tell you something, Madam BA. She was doing that from her office at the Cultural Affairs position. And she used to do the parade, she used to do the recreation. Now, the problem I have now is that you're going to have somebody doing that job, but at the same time, picking up the phone and saying, hey, Marsha, oh, sorry, I mentioned your name. Hey, madam, can you do me a favor? Do you have the relation? Can you do that job for me and do this? Because then it's no need to have that second person in your office. And keep the office of cultural affair as an office and put the person that was there by title and ordinance without making sure we be fiscal responsible and not making sure that at the end, this council probably had to sit in executive meeting just to talk what we have been talking today to prevent that to come forward. So if you look at that ordinance, created that cultural affair office and look at it from A to Z and correct it before the approval of this budget, I will appreciate it. Thank you.
Councilman Jackson?
So, thank you, Council President. I'm not going to go on prolong it. I think we all are singing the same song. Just want to emphasize the fact that I've been extremely consistent on this exact issue. If there is no performance evaluation and if there is no job description, then we cannot make a determination of whether or not an employee is doing their job to satisfaction. And if that employee is being singled out and or moved, because I have to be completely honest, Madam BA, you already know I'm extremely critical, but it's evident that this administration has been heavily influenced by hiring political, making political hires. Example, what we're going through in the division of zoning. I'm going to continue to, beat this drum. Civil service, the state civil service has just came back with a desk audit that has clearly stated who carries the position, but based on a political hire, we're allowing other people to be in this position. So now when you take other employees, single them out, demote them and or move them and hire someone in their position, and to Councilman Velez's point, expect them to train the person that doesn't have any idea. So to Councilman Rivera's point, this council, not me, but this body, made a concession to hire a person within personnel because it was a specific outline that this person came with a certain set of experience and credentials, and he was going to create certain things that would be a benefit to the city. So my question now is to the administration, where are those items that this individual was supposed to create? Because from my understanding, he was taking training from another employee who he was supervising. So, I know that the administration has made promises to do performance evaluations, has failed to hold hard on that promise. So my performance evaluation on this part is a complete failure, and I think that the public is not getting its true value from these people that we're paying, because the administration failed to put in place those measurable goals and or rubrics to talk about specifically what exactly does this position entail. Another example, we hired an assistant economic development director, within that department. And we still don't have an outline of what that position talked about, but there's an additional high paying salary, and which to me talks about the level of incompletion of the director. We're hiring assistant directors to do the job that, in the past, the director has done. So, listen, I'm happy to hear that council members are willing to hold firm on these items. It is absolutely necessary. It's the only way that there's going to be any type of accountability to the public. I'm urging the administration to please, do the best, do the job that you have signed on to do. Put in place those measurable items so that we don't have those lawsuits, because we have, from what I'm understanding, all of these items that we're discussing, they're going to end in a lawsuit, and they're going to end in settlements that the public is going to pay for. So, Council President, lastly, I'd like to reiterate for not only you, but the entire council, we have to hold firm on the laws that we actually put in place. There's a residency policy in place for a specific reason. And if this council is not going to hold firm on holding the administration accountable, then they're going to continue to do what they've been doing. And they've been really, running amok of this council and the community's best interest.
Council President.
Very much. Councilman, just hold on a minute. Let's let the BA, respond. And, but let's just remember, it's 6:51. We still want to touch the same topics, probably in the next few, divisions. We have the BA's office and we have personnel. So I don't want to know, I want to know if maybe you could hold off, if he's not related to this budget per se, to this item, maybe hold off until the other one, but go ahead, Madam BA.
I'll be very brief here. Again, this is not a new, it's actually, you see a decrease in the budget line for this position. And I understand that all of the council members have relationships with many employees. And a lot of what we're talking about is you're hearing a perspective from an employee who might have sat in a position. I think what you're not seeing is the perspective of the office, and any office, I'm not saying this one in particular, that has certain requirements for certain jobs, and when people do not meet those expectations. We are looking to start, one of the reasons why we want to add personnel to personnel is to have people to be able to do performance evaluations. What we were talking about with the personnel officer was the camps cleanup, was really trying to get our system in order. And that person did begin that. That process continued through the start of my sitting in this seat through the early part of the pandemic. So that was the priority. It was the civil service information. We didn't get to implement the kind of performance evaluation. But that doesn't mean that on our side, we're not also documenting when employees are not performing the tasks that have been given to them. And I just want to make sure that that's known. And that is something that can be talked about in personnel committee meetings. If there are employees in particular that you'd like further information on, I can go ahead and share that as well.
Council President, very quickly.
Hold on a minute, Councilman Jackson. Councilman, Councilman Mendes, is it related to this budget line item, or can I wait to the next?
This is definitely related, but I will wait till the next because we're gonna come back to that topic. I'll move on. Y'all might have no problem.
Councilman Jackson, can you wait, or is it related to this?
Very quickly, Council President, it's just a matter of response to the BA. And I do appreciate and understand when an employee is not meeting their expectations, but if we don't have a specific outline, job description, requirements, expectations, then that means these potential decisions on expectations is made on a personal viewpoint, and as we run the risk of people making accusations that these decisions are being made because it's something personal. So how can we evaluate an employee, or how can we expect that the administration is going to give an evaluation when there is no specific job outline, no job description, no specific expectations spelled out? You can't just, as well as the employee should not be expected to just understand what that is. The administration needs to be able to point out specifically what these expectations are. And if a person's not meeting them, that's clear, and there's a series of steps that we can go through. And I'm gonna say this lastly, Council President, without putting us at risk, because it's to my understanding that we have an employee under the Department of Health and Human Services that was recently terminated based on a personal issue of vendetta that came out of this administration, out of the mayor's office. If this individual was fired the day after the elections, and it was not a series of write-ups and or levels of accountability, then that's putting us this in the city and the community at risk. So I want to know what these expectations are. I think they need to be clear. We need to spell it out. And council members, we need to hold this administration accountable on this. This is not fair for our employees to get treated.
Council President, I would agree with Councilman Jackson that the expectations have to be made very clear to employees, and I would suggest that there are circumstances that we are doing that.
I know you know, everyone is going, but just have a little patience and be poised. Just sit back. It's part of the job. Councilwoman Mims.
So just quickly, and I won't belabor the point, but Madam BA, I just want to say I took offense to a comment you made. You said, I know you all know the employees, so you assumed that we were speaking on behalf of the employee or we had a conversation. I want to let you know I have not spoken to anyone. I'm just talking about the facts as they are. It has nothing to do with a conversation or dialogue. So please don't make an assumption on behalf of myself. I can't speak for the council, but you can't make an assumption that we've spoken to an employees and that is why we're stating the case. I'm stating the case based on the facts at hand, not because to anyone. The work that she has done speaks for itself. I have not spoken to her. I have not sat with her to see what she's doing. I'm asking you in your role for you to be accountable in what is taking place as the chair of the legal committee because of the things that we're seeing in that committee. So that's why my point was asked. It was raised. It wasn't raised because I had a conversation with anyone. I don't have conversations with employees to take on a fight for them. I think they fight really well on their own. But I'm just saying we have to do the right thing when it comes to our structure and dealing with and working with our employees. Our employees do the job for the city. So we have to build that rapport. We got to work with them and we cannot just shuffle them around because of whatever reasons, which I have no idea, so I can't say it because I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, I'm asking, it's been asked today, tonight, by other council members for the job description. What is the work that they're currently doing? What's going to happen with this new person coming in? Because we're in a pandemic, we have to make sure that we have a sound, fiscally sound budget that's being presented that we can support, and that's why we're asking questions. So, Madam BA, I just don't want to hear any of those comments or statements made, assuming or insinuating that we are standing on a platform screaming for an employee and what they told us. That is absolutely a fact. Not so.
Yeah, Council President, can I just clarify for a second?
Yes, but hold on, Madam BA.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask my council colleagues to refrain from entertaining any discussions pertaining to, remember, we're having a budget hearing right now. You could discuss positions, but when you start entertaining job performance and things of that nature, we shouldn't go there. That's just my opinion. Madam BA, also, remember we've been telling you about accountability? The solution to addressing an issue when somebody's not performing their duties, and I don't mean this person in specific, just anyone in the city. You start taking action, right? Start writing people up for not doing their jobs. You don't address the issue by putting a Band-Aid and transferring them to another position, right? I had this conversation with the mayor many times because he wants to create certain positions to address other concerns. If you put somebody in a position and that person is not performing, you go through the proper process to either help them improve or you get rid of them. But you don't do the taxpayers any justice but just continue to basically promote this type of culture that we have here. And if you feel a certain way about any employee, then the solution is not to create another layer of government, is to start addressing the concerns that you have. I leave it at that. And now I'll give you an opportunity, Madam BA, and then we go to the next one. It's 7:00 already.
Sure, and Councilwoman Mims, meant no disrespect, and I wasn't talking about this employee in particular. I was giving the broad perspective of that city council members have relationships with employees. That's a fact as well. And that you might hear one perspective, but you might not always understand the perspective of the administration if we haven't had that conversation about it. So that's all that I was referencing.
But even the validity of the statement is still, you're still saying the same thing, you're just pontificating it differently. The fact of the matter is, no matter who we have a relationship with, we are here to do the city's business. We're not here to listen to an employee and make it, that's not what is going on. We're in a budget hearing. So I'm just saying, from my perspective, the statement should not have been made, period. That's what I'm saying.
Councilwoman, we go back and forth. You were very clear in your statement. Madam BA, you kind of repeated the same thing that we actually going after you for. So the same comment you will make, we could make about your new hires. You all have relationships with those people. Those are people that you know from before they came in, into the city. We could go a little further, but this is not a personnel meeting. We could even talk about the process of hiring people. Are you getting resumes from people? Things of the nature. So let's not go there about relationships. Especially me, doesn't apply to me. That's why I haven't need to say anything. Councilwoman Mims stated that it didn't apply to her either. I don't have any relationship with, most of these employees. Some of them I know because I used to work here. But that's it. Let's continue now to your budget. The office of the administrator.
Perfect. So we're looking at we're starting with page 19.
Yes. Can you tell us what is going on here?
Sure, so there's some shifting around of positions. You will see that we have the two assistant business administrators that we instituted or we started as of this transitional year. That was also, we got rid of the assistant budget officer position and have replaced it with one assistant business administrator position. So we now have two. One is in charge. We have split all the departments, and so each of them have oversight over different departments, and have regular meetings with them to address and to help them with any concerns about 380s, filling vacancies, working with personnel, budgeting, accounting, all of that is connected to our office. We have added back in the budget officer position as we do believe that there is something. There is a need for additional support in this office. When you look back to, if we talk about historical, that the way offices were always set up, our offices had much more support. They might not have had two assistant business administrators in most recent memory. I know when Mr. Burgos was talking about his day, he said he had 4 and 5 assistant business administrators, but I know in recent time there's been one, but we also would have had a budget officer, an assistant budget officer, an administrative secretary, as multiple people within that office, an account clerk. So we are trying to be lean. We have done, kind of a needs-based assessment of our staff. And so we are stepping back when we're no longer just having a keyboarding clerk or keyboarding clerk bilingual. We're moving that position into a management specialist position. We've talked about that a little bit at other budget hearings. We're instituting 3 of these throughout the city as part of this budget. And that's, again, building sort of this middle management. Someone is able to do some of the clerical work that presents under the civil service titles of account clerk or keyboarding clerk or bilingual clerk, but they're also able to do some of the additional reporting, documenting, operational work that is really needed in numerous departments. So, yeah.
So, you continue to say, oh, in the past. A lot of things have changed since, those days. We have an admin system now. It doesn't require as much time to go through the budget process as it did before. You also have now 2 assistant administrators for which you decided to send one of them to personnel, which doesn't make sense. Maybe hold on a minute. So how about you bring that person back into your office and have her perform some duties that has to do with the office. If you wanted to have some oversight of personnel, she could do that from your office.
Sure.
You also have now the budget officer here. You haven't filled that position for many, many years, right? The CFO has that title, not getting paid for that position. So she's not performing that function right now. Actually, CFO in other towns put together the budget with the BA. And sometimes in a big town like this, they use the auditor also to assist with the budget. You have now all these layers, right? If you look at last year's budget, the budget was for the administrator, it was $412,000 for salaries. We paid $317 because you probably had a vacancy. You want to bring up now the budget to $479. You budgeted $412. You paid $317.
So that's essentially that budget officer position, correct?
Correct. So, but you also paid $317. You also have another position here you want to fill. So in this budget that I'm looking at, you have a lot of chief and not enough Indians. If you look at it, look at what you have here.
Right.
Yes. You have a whole bunch of administrators. You know what's going to happen 2 years from now? Someone's gonna look at this budget and say, oh, they don't have enough secretaries. Yeah, because you're taking the secretaries, and you have now given the titles of administrators. Look, you have a manager.
Right. But I think we're examining the work that is being done, Council President, if I could detail that. I think it's a level of oversight of the departments that is really, that is being required, not necessarily just the regular secretarial work. When you have,
The issue that I have is, you have a personnel division that's supposed to have different layers of staff. And you decide to now shift your assistant and administrator there. If you don't have a director there, then look for one. That's what you need to do. Look for one.
we can get to that when we talk about the personnel, but I think her sitting in the office, it's because there is some overlap with the personnel work, especially with the waivers issue.
Madam BA, the issue that I'm having though is, you take this position and you make that person oversee the actual administrator from that office. Doesn't make sense.
But Council President, it's one of the many things that she's doing. She is like a proxy for me. The same thing that the other assistant business administrator is overseeing a lot of the work of DPW or police. That there is a level of oversight, a level of regular meetings, review of and signing off on overtime forms. It's the same issue.
Madam BA, I want to hold this meeting hostage. I'm going to let the other colleagues speak, but the only thing I want to say is that this happens a lot, and I don't mean any disrespect, when you have an administration that have people that never worked in government before, because this is just getting out of hand. You know, when you assign department heads, they're supposed to be responsible and they're supposed to answer to you. Now this is what you have. You have a BA, now you have an assistant that's overseeing them, like walking them, right? When you could be assigning a lot of different projects to these assistants. Instead of holding your department heads accountable and having your assistants actually address a lot of the issues, like, and I don't mean to get off subject, like, we asked you a year ago to do an analysis of the sewer building, right? We haven't done that either. It's just a lot of things that are not getting done because we're too busy filling the weaknesses of other department heads, and we cannot do that. Either they're the right person for the job, or you send them for some training, or you remove them. But we can.
But I think, Council President, I think there are things that are across the board that the administration is trying to do. For example, the council has spoken quite frequently about the issue of overtime across the board, right? This is one of those things that we're trying to manage that in terms of, okay, why is there a need for certain amounts of overtime? Is it something is it better to be doing hiring? Is it something, and that if you're seeing some of the decreases in, for example, and when we send around the bi-weekly overtime, some of the DPW overtime, we're really trying to work with the department. Now, the department is doing some of that themselves, but as the business administrator for the city, our office is doing some of that as well.
Okay, colleagues, I'm going to say the last thing to my colleagues, then you guys can continue, and Councilwoman, are you there? Madam DA, all I'm saying is, you have $412,000 for this budget, and that's what you have. You do what you need to do with that money. If you want to hire and name them whatever you need to name them, that's what you're having for this department. 400, you're having the same amount you had last year. And I don't mean the calendar, the 6-month budget. I mean the budget that ended in June 30th. That's what you're having.
Now,
We did a discussion.
President.
30 seconds.
Last Councilwoman, could you step in for a minute?
Yes.
I don't have much to say. All I'm saying is 412,000 is what you had last year. That's what you get this year. Thank you.
Councilman Velez and Councilwoman Cotton.
Thank you, Councilwoman Cotton, and thank you, Councilman President. Madam BA, sometimes you have to sit back and just listen, and then analyze, and then come back on another day and respond, because you're trying to justify your budget. At the same time, you bring in subjects that are being critical in our city and being headline news in our city. It will make it worse. Okay, just sit back. This is a hearing. Take recommendation, make notes. Sometimes justifying in the moment, it will open to another discussion and not satisfying whatever we want to go moving forward. Now, this is why I want to say this. So you just mentioned that the person is doing tour work. dual work. As I could understand that is doing work in your office, is your right-handed in the office as a system administrator, and also is doing work in the personnel division. All right. But if I'm gonna analyze both dual work in one, I gotta put a word that probably you could agree, and my colleagues could agree, conflict of interest. Why? Because if she doing work in the B and the personnel dealing with payrolls and dealing with overtime and putting those sheets together and then turns around in the BA office and is allowed to sign it and approve to get paid, for me, that's a conflict of interest. A person cannot be doing two things that involve the same thing in different departments. And that's how I see it. So I was looking, and I know that's the second subject that we have per Department of Personnel. But if you have this person doing dual work from the VA office, also from the personnel office, at the same salary of the VA office, or she's getting extra pay for the work that she's doing and the personnel. So then there is no saving for the taxpayers. So if I go to see and balance every statement regarding this office, your office, and regarding the office that she's working also over there, it's something to be audit or investigate with the conflict interest, with the saving on it, and making sure that it runs properly. If the person, all right, or whoever it is, works in your office and has that title, to stick with that title in your office. If they don't like it because they don't work there or they don't like their office, then they're not meant to the title. But just to put it in another place, just to bail people out, just to make sure that they are an environmental workplace, it's not going to serve the purpose for the taxpayer because in somehow or other they get in the system in some aspect. So just sit back sometimes and draw your plan out of cameras and come back when you have to really submit this and give us result that at least the budget represent something that will save taxpayer money and at the same time will represent the service that this office, as particularly the BA, serve the community, and the personnel office serve our employees and at large. So it's two different aspects of it that needs to be looked into deep and make sure that they don't come back and make us liable for anything that we have done. And when I say we, and I don't work in administration, let me clear that. We, because we all in this, but as a legislator, we need to do what we have to do.
It's 7:15 now.
Council President.
Councilwoman Cotton, and then Councilman Mendez, and then Councilman Jackson.
Okay.
For comments,
Thank you, Council President. I just want to say to you, Madam BA, I hear what you're saying because right now we don't have a budget officer in place. The one person that's now, I see the assistant business administrator was really like the budget officer. But, this is gonna be a very challenging year for for your administration because it was never put to the fire that those department heads have to keep track of their budget. I mean, when I say keep track, they're gonna have to assign someone in each of these departments to keep track, and I've never said this to you before, Council President, that the person, and I'm not mentioning names, I know what she's done in the past, I know how she kept track of everything, and you said it to yourself, Council President, that these department heads was gonna have to learn that admin system, gonna have to understand how it gotta work, gonna have to put somebody in there, in that department. Each director is gonna have to figure out who's gonna be the person that they're gonna put in charge of keeping track of their budget and to making sure that they don't overspend. BA, Madam BA, this is gonna be very challenging for you. Council President said it many times already. I hear what he said. I heard what he said over and over and over and over. You know what? We got people in the department, but they were not keeping track of their budget. That one person was keeping track of their budget. Listen, you can shake your head, but that one person was keeping track of those budgets all those years. But now the EBIT system's in place. It was a very difficult when the EBIT system came. They couldn't seem to figure out how to do it the right kind of way, but challenging for you, Madam BA, those departments gotta figure out, pick someone in each one of those departments to keep track of that. To keep track of their budget. I'm just saying, out of sack the budget, I hear what you're saying, Council President, but let's see how it rolls out. I'm telling you, let's see how it rolls out. I, Council President, I hear what you said, and you said it over and over, you done said it so many times already.
Councilwoman, that's the job of the CFO and the BA to let.
No, we understand that. We know what their jobs are. We already know that. Now her job is to make sure her directors appoint someone in each one of those departments to keep track of that stuff that they should have been keeping track of it all along.
Councilwoman.
That's gonna be for her.
Before,
You don't have to tell me whose job it is, Council President. I know whose job it is.
I'm not gonna go back and forth. This is a question to
Okay, right, I understand. So I'm telling her that's what they're gonna have to be able to do. That's all. You don't have to say anything else.
Well, not to you, but I have something to say to Madam BA. Thank you. Madam BA, out of curiosity.
Thank you,
Madam BA, out of curiosity. Your assistant business administrators, who are they overseeing? Or let me be more specific. Are they overseeing the finance department?
All the departments.
Wait,
They're not overseeing the departments in the sense of the reporting structure. Well, the reporting structure comes to the BA's office. All the department heads report to the BA.
Well,
What we did is that we split up all the different departments so that each of them can have regular meetings with either one of our two assistant business administrators to troubleshoot issues. And they can also have these conversations with me, but a lot of times it's for either accounting or for personnel. And just like Councilwoman Cotton said, yeah, that is a huge issue, and that's one of the things, hold on one second, Council President. One of the things that these meetings are for is to start building that professional development so that people within those departments, so it's not just department heads in these meetings, account managers, so they can learn how to do admins.
Madam BA, please. What gets to me is you have two assistant BAs that were not qualified to do certain positions in the past. I read the newspapers from the city of Paterson. And they're overseeing a finance department, hold on a minute, they're overseeing a finance department with two people there that have CFO licenses. One of them had 30 years on the job. You also have them overseeing the purchasing department, hold on a minute, and they're not purchasing agents. So all I'm saying is, you don't see something wrong with this?
No, Council President, that's not what they're overseeing. They're addressing issues as they come up. For example, when there are, when the finance office wants to get overtime approved, when the finance office is filling vacancies and doing 380s, when there are grievance issues, when there are union issues.
That's normal.
Yeah, a lot of those they're starting those conversations.
In the past, I've seen some of your assistants actually trying to get in the business, in the actual function of those positions. So what you just described right now are administrative functions that are handled by your office.
No, that's what we're talking about. So I don't know what happens in the past, but these are the things that we're doing now.
So right now you have one of your assistant BAs in your personnel office overseeing the acting personnel director. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
No, but the personnel is one of the divisions under administration, just like purchasing, just like IT. So she's sitting there in part because a big portion of what she does for me as the BA has to do with the waivers in connection, and that encompasses everything. It's waivers, it's 380s, it's then leads to personnel with job postings. So it makes a lot of sense for her to work closely over there. She's also assisting, she's done a lot of assistance throughout this crisis when there are other people who are out.
We're not really making it, that's fine. Who wants to speak first? Who's asked for the floor?
Council President.
Councilman, who was first?
Mendez first, and then Councilman Jackson.
Mendez and Jackson.
Yeah, I've been a little bit silent, just waiting and to move on. But I could definitely, I have to speak at this time out of VA because based on the budget hearing that we do, and I understand that you try to justify some of your position, but honestly, that's not how government works, and that's what's not what our taxpayer wants to see. I mean, what I see is a budget top heavy and assistant BA overseeing of the department where they have no experience. I think that what we gotta see, what I would like to see, are director on charge of their own department. And I'm extremely concerned by this. You know, in the past, I was trying to talk about the residency law that we have in place. We have to be firm when it comes to that because I see a lot of hiding here, and we have to go back to that. And I don't see job description specified for those positions that we're talking about. And we have to be mindful. There was a conversation in the past a couple of minutes ago about a conflict in the department. And we have to keep in mind and we have to remember the history of settlement through lawsuit that we've been having in the city of Paterson. Because at the end, us as a taxpayer, we are the one that ended up into paying that bill. So I think that moving forward, Madam Beer, what I would like to see is a budget that really reflect what we're looking for. And I know all my council colleagues, they've been very clear. I don't want to continue beating, the same point. But I think that I would like to say, I see so many open positions, so many chiefs on top, and who are they supervising? Supervising department heads? I'm very concerned when it comes to that. I have other question about miscellaneous, but I'm shocked with all this new hiring in different positions. Council President already mentioned 412,000 is what they have. I suggest to move on and because I definitely know that we're gonna come back to this. Thank you.
Councilman Jackson, hopefully after Councilman Jackson, we can move to the next one. Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Council President. First of all, I don't want to reiterate the same points. Thank council members. I'm happy to see that are, finally having the same understanding with regard to the level of oversight over these division department directors. But more importantly, I want to further and talk about the level of intimidation that's been placed over multiple employees directly from the VA's office. Specifically, when we talk about the departments such as personnel, when you have a credentialed, certified, experienced department head who they're being overseen by someone who has no idea, no experience, no credentials. It completely undermines the levels of government and why people are put in certain positions. Not only that, it's clear that these assistant BAs have been put in certain positions to control certain aspects of certain departments. When you have Madam BA, and I would like for you, Council President, I think that you need to lead this charge. Civil Service wrote a letter back in January of 2020. That's 12 months ago. They wrote a letter stating that an employee that holds an imperative position in the city does not meet the requirements to hold the position, and is short with those requirements for almost 3 years. Yet it's still this administration, through the indoctrinated power of the assistant BA, undermined that letter that was written by Civil Service. Therefore, the services and or attention to the community is completely being overlooked. So when you put people in a position who, one, first and foremost, don't meet the requirements themselves, don't have the when I say requirements, I'm talking about residency requirements. That's a great concern. And then they don't have the credentials. When you have employees of the administration going into finance department, barking orders, yelling, screaming, giving directives, not just to the director. If the directive is going to come from the BA's office, then that's one thing. But there's a chain of command, and no one should be entering an office in an intimidating fashion, barking off demands and things of that nature. Now, that's an administrative function, I get it, But I want to put that on public record because, again, this is the type of items that take place that the city ultimately pay for, and this council has to be responsible for paying that bill. So we talk about levels of oversight. This is where it begins. To talk about hiring 2 assistant personnel directors and then having an assistant VA oversee them who has no experience. And with all due respect, the VA herself does not have the experience in that area. So the community is being slighted, and then again, there's another level of disrespect to the employee, which is going to ultimately lead to more legal issues and legal matters which the public has to continue to pay for. So, Council President, I challenge you. When are we holding this administration accountable? This is our moment. This is our starlight moment during these budget hearings to make sure that this activity is ceased. Because ultimately the public is paying for this, and we're going to be, paying heavily for it financially.
Let the record reflect that his cell phone probably got dead. Nobody cut him off.
Whose cell phone? My phone?
Oh, okay, yeah, you went mute, that's why.
I was finished speaking.
Oh, okay. I heard it was disconnected, that's fine.
Should we let the record reflect that you were incorrect?
Yeah, let them know that he was incorrect.
Maybe the council president was disconnected.
Council President,
And I said, duly noted, the record is basically, he's been on camera right now stating the wrong comment. So Councilman Jackson finished his statement. Let's go to personnel.
okay, we're looking at page 21. And I know there was, Councilman Jackson actually just referenced this, there have been conversations about the structuring of this department. And we did bring some ideas to the Personnel Committee that of some things we were considering. And they were even at the point where we submitted the waivers to DCA to say that we felt we wanted to provide some additional support to this division. But what I would like to correct is the one in this budget, we are structuring this department with a director and with an assistant personnel director, not with 2 assistant personnel directors. So we heard what the council was saying. We examined, kind of some of the different challenges with staffing, and we made those adjustments. Part of that is because we also added in some other positions. And we know these are not necessarily all ones that we're going to be able to hire. And we wanted to emphasize the reasons why we have this. First off, I know Councilman Velez had a comment before about the assistant business administrator and working in personnel. And I tried to clarify that a lot of that work was really related to waivers, the DCA requirements, a lot of the backup and documentation that are required with them and how it intersects with personnel. Again, there's also other issues. But this department as structured, we would look to add 2 positions. So we have the kind of the current TO. There are some title changes. You see there's a change for the clerk 1 full-time, and that title was in the works for a while to change to employee benefits clerk. So it's that same position that's just going up a little bit that fits more of what that person does. And if you see on the list, there's a supervising payroll clerk and there's a personnel technician. Some of the issues that have come up that the council has noticed as well. Number 1, we want to get all of the payroll to come into City Hall right now, or to come into the administration. Right now, police and fire track their own time, their vacation time, their payroll, all of that. So that's something that we think is necessary to all come in-house. And that's currently, there's also all these other tasks that are required of our personnel, our payroll supervisor, But she is currently doing a lot of just regular kind of clerical or payroll clerk work in addition to her supervisory work. So we believe adding a supervising payroll clerk would be able to assist her in some of the reporting. She would still have the payroll supervisor above her, but then she would also be able to provide some oversight to the payroll current employees and take on some of the work of bringing police and fire in-house. Those are the reasons why we think that position is important. On the other side, on the personnel side, that personnel technician, we're looking to add this is a lower level position, entry level, but to also assist with all the personnel tasks that are going on that are not getting done. And that includes personnel reviews, the performance reviews, kind of instituting that process. That includes doing kind of more documentation around hiring, as well as kind of doing a better job with our filing and our keeping up with our medical files and our personnel files. So this is something that, those type of projects that get put to the side and aren't managed properly. This is a division that has had multiple people out on the Family First leave during this coronavirus crisis, and I think they have performed admirably. This has really been a challenging time for them, and I think they're really, but at this point, we want to be able to give them the staffing that they need to be able to encompass all that both the council and that we expect from a personnel division that is interacting with every single department throughout the state. So, and again, it's really payroll and personnel all within the same division.
Yes. Council President.
You're on mute, Council President.
Madam DA, hold on a minute, Councilman Velez. What has changed in the past few years that now all of a sudden you need to hire all this or create all these new positions? And I felt insulted and disrespected by the action of the administration because I'm a little disappointed that you guys always go to the state before we even go into the budget hearing. All these positions are posted already out there. You're probably doing interviews right now.
We were doing this Council President, we were doing this at the same time we had presented a lot of these in personnel committee and saying that we wanted to do this. We were going to be going in front of you guys for this administration one weeks ago. So we had the process underway to try to align this simultaneously.
So, and another note also. I think we have to have some boundaries with DCA. We have some monitors here. But it seems like the monitors are running the city. Like everything you consult with them. And if that's the case, since the monitors gave you the okay, when you didn't have the money in the budget, I don't know how they're doing this. You didn't even have the money in the budget, and they already authorizing the hiring of this staff. Maybe, and I don't mean to sound spiteful, but maybe I gotta start being spiteful. Maybe the monitors could come in and vote on the budget then. Because why would they start approving all these positions when there is no money in the budget for those positions?
But Council President, it's approved conditionally for the January 1st hire.
Yes, but then I'm holding you accountable. Why are you even going to them when you even haven't had a discussion with the council?
We were having the same discussions with the council. And again, the timing, this was delayed. This original hearing was supposed to be in, kind of early, I forget, was this end of October or early November? I forget which one.
It was delayed, but the conversation needs to be had with the council. Then you submit it to the state, not the other way around. A lot of times you get the approval from the state before even talking to the council at all. So, you're coming to us after the fact. Councilman Velez.
Yes, Council President, I'm going over all those pages and I would like to recommend to not speak a lot myself. I never speak from this point on. With the administration part and all this explanation they gave, I'm being added here more than $50,000 in overtime. I would like to see across the board that all overtime item be reduced. totally, because, I cannot have said that the VA office has $16,000 in overtime requested. 16. I cannot. And not only that, we need to reduce. Is this a way to reduce budget? Is a way to reduce overspending? Let's look at the little things that also are going over the board. If you look, if Madam BA, if it's possible, give me this budget for that you will present a total of, in the whole entire budget, a total of how much you are budgeting for overtime. And from there, to take into consideration, I know that some budgets on overtime are our spinal cord in our city, like police, fire, and DPW, but we need to do something with this overtime. And I'm not gonna say nothing else because, this budget hearing turned into an explanation, a budget hearing, and not an actual and factual one. At the end of the road, I wanna see the entire picture when we come to approve it, and then we will make the decision from there. But Madam Diego continue, doing her presentation how she wants it. But, I don't think that, a lot of things is gonna be bailed out today. It's gonna be bailed out on the day that we go to approve this budget.
We know that, Councilman, but at least we tell the administration what we wanna see the day of the introduction. If they come with the same figures, for example, they come in the introduced budget with $735,000 for the personnel committee, then they're gonna get what they need to get. Whoever wants to go yes, vote yes. Council members, let's make a recommendation, and we're like beating the dead horse already on a lot of the things. Let's make a recommendation and move on to the next, division. Councilman,
I just have a quick question, Council President. It's to, Madam BA. I understand that you're going through the process today, interview process because of the monitoring DCA. And we're going through the budget hearing. So if we don't approve this, and most likely it's not gonna happen based on our council colleague comment and the way I feel it, what's gonna happen with that? Because we're going through the budget, I need to understand, I need to have a clear understanding about what's gonna be the next, position for the administration.
Sure, a couple of things. The first thing is that we're listening as part of, as we did with all the budget hearings, and examining what was in the budget and what the feedback was. So we will, after this, we will make adjustments to that. So this is not set in stone. Secondly, if we have waivers for certain items and we feel very strongly, we will let the council know if we're moving forward or not. And then, like the council president said, if there is something that, people don't agree with, then that can be part of the vote. Now, we understand that, we don't want a budget to fail. So we're not going to be trying to be antagonistic about this. That's why we want to really hear what you're saying. But on the same time that we're talking about overtime, a lot of the overtime is because departments are not staffed properly. So we're trying to address overtime issues by also having staff there that we can share the load. So it's very difficult to do both.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you look at the position that you're bringing into this administration, you're not bringing secretary, you're bringing top heavy, people that will be on top of, supervising direct, not bringing regular personnel that is gonna help to alleviate the level of work that those department has, so it doesn't make sense. So at the end, all I would like to see is the administration be mindful of all the layer of the position that you guys having. That's not what the people wants to see, specifically in the condition that the city is right now. So, but I don't want to delay this. I want Council President, let's move forward with the budget hearing.
we're gonna move forward. I just want to remind the VA the following based on our statement. You're correct. You don't have to come to us to hire, but you cannot hire if there's no money in the budget. So there's only three legal ways to spend money: through the budget, through dedication by rider, which is your trust accounts, and through your capital, which is us approving bonding. So if you don't have the money in the budget, you cannot hire.
No, I 100% agree.
And that's why I had this agreement with some of my colleagues in the past, when they used to fight me because I did not want to fund certain positions. Because the point that I always try to make is, I'm only funding a position that you're actually going to fill. If you just want the money there because the position exists, it does a disservice to us because now the administration could turn around and give some increases, justified increases to their employees, and at the same time, hire additional staff that's in the table of organization. And not specifically that position, they could hire other. So that's what I mean. We only budgeting positions that they're actually planning to fill. So on that note, Madam BA, if you're not planning to fill the BA's position, I mean the budget officer position, don't put it there.
Yeah.
The positions that we're discussing right now, Madam BA, I know you posted them. I would not proceed, but it is your call. If you proceed, you're not gonna have the funding next year. Councilman Abdelaziz.
Thank you, Council President. I just got a couple questions. It's not pertaining to the exact division or department. So the last 2 years I've sat on this council, we've talked about, I'm assuming, Madam BA, that you guys are gonna introduce a budget that has a 2% increase in the tax levy.
Correct, yep.
So these budget hearings, and I love, that's where I think we should start rolling up our sleeves, because I've heard many of my council colleagues talk about that we don't want no tax increases. So, this is where you put your recommendations on the table, start cutting, so we don't come on the day of the vote and say, you know what, we want a levy with no tax increase, but during the budget hearing, no one said a word, right? We talk about giving increases here or do that, not saying, but Madam BA, I think, we should have that discussion, Council President, in this budget, in these hearings, because it sounds good, but then no one makes the cuts right now. No one has just told the Madam BA, I'm not approving a budget unless your division department is 2% or is 2% less this year, or the levy is 2% less, or the levy is a flat levy, right? I think that's where it comes down to. I've sat 2 years, no one voted no on the budget saying because we hired this secretary. A lot of times I've heard my council colleagues say, we're not voting on the budget because there's a tax increase. So I haven't heard any council people put that on the table, so the administration hears that, and then when we come back to introduce budget, we could say, we told you guys, let the BA state what she has to say now.
So Councilman, first of all, the 2% levy is already in the law. And based on the memorandum of understanding, the state is actually forcing us on a yearly basis. That's why I want to get rid of transitional aid. We always gonna have a 2% levy based on the law. Hold on a minute. What we're doing here is actually telling the administration, if they're gonna hire additional people, put them in places that would improve the services of the city, right? We don't want to see the administrative staff increase. We have all these sheep and not enough Indians, right? There was our first year on the job, and you were here, Councilman, we're appointing you. The first year on the job, we gave all the tools that the administration needed when it came to employees to perform some functions, and the services actually diminished. Then we were told, the reason for the service diminishing was the equipment. We gave them the equipment. So what we're doing here is we go in department by department. We didn't complain when they say they want to hire people in DPW, right? We didn't complain. We just don't want the administration to be top heavy. That's what we're asking.
So Councilman, Council President, I just want to reiterate my point to say this, because this will be my third budget on this council. You're stating that, but once we had a transitional budget with no tax increase and still.
You had it all.
So your state, wait.
2% increase, Councilman.
Council President. So you're stating that the budget has to be 2%. It has to be increased by 2%. So it's very clear today. So it's very clear on the record as Council President and Madam BA is here. You're stating that the budget, no matter what, has to be 2%.
No, the levy. You have to be correct in your statement. The tax levy, as per the MOU, they put that in there in the past few years. They put in there that if you're receiving transitional aid, you need to have a 2% levy. That doesn't mean,
I'm totally understanding. So you're saying, once again, for the record to reflect that the tax levy for this introduced budget has to have a 2% increase.
Councilman, as per the
Yeah,
state,
President.
hold on a minute, Councilman Jackson. Not as per the president, as per the state. Now, to correct you, the 6-month transition budget that we had a 2% levy increase. What had happened is because the ratables increased, the homeowners didn't see a tax increase, right? That's the difference.
And so you're,
The
and
CFO.
I said that, Council President, and I just want the record to reflect, right? We always have this discussion once we go up for the introduced budget. And I think it's prudent if we have it here. Are we gonna follow DCA? Because you just stated the council controls the money. So if the council doesn't wanna do it,
We have a signed agreement though, Councilman, a signed agreement.
and past councils have done it.
It was not in the past, it was not, and March was here. March, was it in the MOU?
Councilman Morris did it when it was in the MOU.
I don't recall.
Yes, he did, and then they took away the money.
Councilman, maybe I'm wrong, okay, it's just March. Maybe-
Council President.
Hold on a minute, Councilman Jackson. Is March around?
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's hard to get back in the picture and the sound. The MOU has included the requirement after the incident when Councilman Morris cut the tax levy. The state required us to increase the municipal tax levy by 2%.
Thank you, March. So to finish this conversation, what we're doing here is we're not fighting the 2% levy. We just want the administration to be responsible and put the resources in the places that are gonna benefit the taxpayers and the residents. That is all we're doing. Councilman Jackson.
Thank you, Council President. So I can't let an educational moment pass. It's obvious through past practices we all and should understand, those of us who are sworn in to take on this responsibility, the 2% mandatory increase based upon our MOU for transitional aid is completely understood. But if we continue to allow excess spending and or there is no mandate required by the administration to increase revenues, i.e. through economic development, i.e. through ratables and tax collection and things of that nature, then there is no balance to offset that 2% increase. So to negate the point that Councilman Abdelaziz was trying to make, there is potential for taxpayers to see a potential reduction if we can reduce spending and or increase ratables. There is going to be a necessity. It's required. 2% increase to the levy is absolutely required. So we understand that. But also, I want to point out that the councilman made a comment that no one has. I've completely not supported the budget in the past because of the neglect and or the consistent oversight or overlooking of the process when we talk about hiring people outside of the purview of the administrative hiring process. When we hire non-residents and disregard the residency policy, when we sit here and allow for this administration. So I want to, make sure I continue to reiterate, yes, I was extremely supportive. In fact, the reporter pointed out that I was coerced by the former BA because of our relationship, which is completely untrue. I would not sit here like a spoiled child after losing an election. The community chose its mayor. I gave this mayor, this administration, the support initially, even when I didn't agree. I specifically said on one occasion to the economic development director, I don't agree with it, but I'm going to give them the vote of support until I saw that everything was going in a failing position. So I want to point out that yes, the majority of council members continuously for the past 2.5 years supported all of these endeavors, and hence why we are where we are now. So I'm happy to see that now some council members want to, hold this administration accountable. but I wouldn't, I would not allow for, and I know Councilman of the Sixth Ward just joined us, so you didn't hear some of the commentary from some of the other council members saying that they're not willing to support a budget that that doesn't meet certain criteria. So he's coming, ramp speaking off the cusp, but that is not what has been echoed by some of the other council members, and it's not been a practice of mine just to support things and they get there during a budget voting session. I've been holding this administration and asking for certain things for the past 2 years. I have not changed my position. I've been consistent and I've been right on 98% of all of the issues, possibly 100. And I think that, this council has to stand up and do its job. There has to be checks and balances. Unfortunately, many council members have aligned themselves in the past with this administration, and that has not paid dividends for the residents. Just wanted to make that point.
Thank you very much, Councilman. You made a great point. What's our recommendation so we can move this along? Based on the comments, Madam BA, I don't think this is the right year. Look, you're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot of uncertainty still out there. We're gonna have a lot of revenue shortfalls, right? I don't think this is the time to boost up, all this position in the administration. We still need to hire all the positions that we have funded in the past in DPW and all the other departments that we have put money in, including the police department. But my recommendation, I don't think it's prudent to increase our staffing at this time when it comes to the administrative staffing. But that's just my take. I think maybe some of my colleagues share the same sentiment. So I don't think this is the time, Madam BA, for you to increase staffing in this department as well. Could we go to the next department?
Yep, so we're on to purchasing. So here, the only changes are really title changes, and again, this is part of the desk audit process. The clerk stenographer moving into a purchasing assistant position. So you see from last year to this year.
So it's budget neutral.
Exactly.
We could continue, this budget didn't change much.
Yep.
So data processing.
So data processing, we don't have lots of movement on salary and wage. We do have some with OE, and we are going to be absorbing a little bit more. I know we had some additions as part of our, and this is something that we're planning for. As part of some of the technology that we're getting through the crisis, we might get 1 year subscription, and then we have to start budgeting for the second year and so on, whether it's the cameras or our SDL system. And it's something we're always going to be looking for grant funding to try to offset some of these costs as well.
Okay. Let's go to the next one, Madam BA.
Surveys. I'm sorry?
Office of the Public Defender.
Okay, so and this one you'll see is also flat.
So, law department.
There you go, Madam Corporation Counsel, if you want to jump in.
Absolutely. Good evening, Council. So as you're looking through the budget for the law department, the only salary increases primarily are for just what is contractual. Obviously, there's no increase in my salary line. Would I accept one at this juncture? I know the city has a lot of stuff going on. Additionally, there's one, an internal desk audit in reviewing what one of my legal secretaries did. She was doing far more work. She is the person who does all of my administrative work. Additionally, she does my payroll, all of my admins. She is everything in my office. So we did do an internal desk audit with her, and so we are changing that that title to an administrative secretary to compensate for all the work that she does. What I have done though is to eliminate another legal secretary title in my office, so that we're not increasing my budget by changing her title. And that we have had vacancies in the department, so to leave a position open in the budget really doesn't make sense for me. So we just, go ahead.
So you have, that number is incorrect. You had 18 instead of, it should be 17?
Yes. No, it should be
The
18.
request.
Yeah, the request is 17, not 18, correct?
So council members, this budget, again, one employee is being basically promoted, due to all the, additional duties that that person is performing. And, I don't see much change in this budget. Um, so I recommend that we continue.
Can I just note one thing though, Council President?
Yes.
In my department, I've heard the personnel committee and councilwomen Mims have constantly been asking for evaluations. The law department is actually in an evaluation cycle. So what I have done is my employees, we're doing a two-part evaluation in the law department. The employees are doing self-evaluation that should have already been completed. However, because of the social distancing needs and we have moved to a staggered schedule, we have not completed that yet. However, we anticipate that the personal self-evaluations will be done by this Friday. Then I can have all the staff evaluations completed by the end of the year so we can set goals for 2021. So the law department is, I guess, the test case for evaluations, and then we'll be able to roll that out citywide. And we do have an evaluation process in our personnel manual. That is a process we have undertaken in the law department. So I hear you. I know that we need to get those done, and we are in that process.
Council President.
Councilwoman Mims and Councilman, Mendes.
Madam Council, can you just forward a copy of the framework of what that performance evaluation will look like? I'm really happy to hear that is going to be implemented, but I would like to see, I don't know if it's going to be streamlined, what are the KPMIs that you're going to use to measure it by, but can you forward it so all the council members can see it? But I would actually like to take a look at it.
Absolutely. And just so you know, it's in the personnel manual, so I'll just go and pull it out and send it to the council.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Mendes.
So apologize, thank you, Council President. And I just want to make this comment because every time I look at the law department, we have 9 attorneys full-time that is it costing the taxpayer $896,000, almost $900,000 plus 2 attorney part-time that went up to 136. So a little bit over $1 million in lawyers in the city of Paterson. One of the concerns that I have is that in some of the cases, in most of the cases, we have to go for outside legal counsel for a lot of situations that happen in Paterson. And I just want to make this comment because I believe that the administration should look into leave a lot of those cases in Paterson with those full-time lawyers that we have, knowing that we're spending over $1 million just in lawyers that are full-time, night, and 2 part-time. And so that's a comment that I would like to put it out there for the administration because I know that on a section, we can receive a lot of cases that we have to see outside legal counsel taking care of those cases where we could do that in-house to save taxpayer dollars. And that's the comment that I have for the administration. And I'd like to hear, what is your opinion on some change of that?
Sure.
And people fee on the miscellaneous, I see $200,000 in that. I'd like to get some explanation about those $200,000 and also my comment for, thank you.
Absolutely, Councilman Mendes, thank you. So, actually, before I came to the chair, the outside, that's what those legal fees are, that's outside legal counsel. The budget for that was actually a little over $400,000 when I first got here. And so what we have done is we've actually cut our outside, counsel budget in half. And the reason why we did that is because I agree with you. There are 9 lawyers sitting in an office, they need to do some more legal work. So now, a lot of our outside counsel work is now tasked to those 9 lawyers. We can't eliminate outside counsel in totality because there may be some conflict, and so if there's conflict on this, we gotta have somebody there to do it. Also, there are some special technical things that we need outside legal counsel for, but every case that can be handled in-house by the law department, moving forward will be handled in-house by the law department.
And that's my hope because the public cannot see those executive or closed session that we have. And all you see is outside legal counsel taking care of those problems when we're spending over $1 million in the law department. Thank you.
You're absolutely right, Councilman. I appreciate that.
Mr. President, if I may,
Yes, Madam Clerk, yes.
we have promised the public for 8 o'clock for public portion. Would you like to And
You can make the announcement, Madam Clerk. Usually takes a few minutes, takes about 5 minutes for them to come on.
okay, all right, so I'll do that now, sir.
Thank you, Corporation Counsel.
Okay, thank you. The public portion, anyone wishing to participate in the public portion may dial 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. 973-321-1579. Enter code 8326. Press star 1 if you need to listen to the meeting, star 2 to leave a recorded comment, and star 3 to be added to the speaker list. Mr. President.
May I, Council President?
Councilwoman Cotton.
All right. I'm just going to say to the Corporation Council, I didn't hear what you said about the three legal secretaries. You said it's 3 or 2.
So my office, sure, Councilwoman Cotton. So in my office now, currently there's a part-time clerk, there is a legal secretary, an administrative secretary, and a paralegal. The other legal secretary that was in my office, they were actually 2 additional titles. One title we are vacating as we don't need it, so we're removing it from the department. The second title was actually an employee who was transferred to Health and Human Services, and my office is not going to fill that title either.
So now we really only have 2 legal secretaries.
Well, we have, yes. So it's 2, however, my administrative secretary does a lot of that work. She just does additional work. And quite frankly, in 2020 and almost 2021, most attorneys do a lot of research themselves. We don't do dictation and such anymore. So we can type our own stuff. We may need some assistance, but the assistance is minimal. It's not what it used to be. We're trying to push everybody to move into 2021.
Okay, all right, I understand. So in other words, Corporation, we got 2 legal secretaries and we're gonna get 1 administrative secretary. Is that what we're getting?
Well, the administrative secretary, the posting was up,
Okay.
we wanted to do a title change. Because we had to do a title change, we had to post it. We posted it, and the parties interviewed, and someone was selected to sit in the title. And that's where we are now. That we actually had already talked about this budget in last year's budget. Additionally, we have in my office a part-time clerk, a legal secretary, and a paralegal. That is the only administrative staff my office has. There will be no more.
I'm trying to figure out legal secretary, you got 2 for 60,000. Is that correct?
We're about to start the public portion. We made the announcement already.
I know, but is it 62,000, Corporation Council? That's what I'm asking you, for 1 part-time and 1 full-time.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yes. And actually, no, the clerk part-time is 35, and then there are 2 legal secretaries that are listed. However, as I've just said, we've recently made the decision to only have 1, so the other one's gonna get backed out when you come back for introduction.
Thank you.
All right.
Council President,
I can't see it because
Council members, hold on a minute.
we're gonna go into public portion. Thank you.
one quick question before Corporation Council moves on, Council President.
Yes, Councilman Jackson, let's make it brief because we already opened the public portion. So please, just brief.
I appreciate it. Corporation Council, I understand that you said that you're gonna be the catalyst for the employee evaluations. So through your department, I'll send a request to you, please, to make sure that evaluation includes the cases that's handled by your internal office, as well as the cases that's handled by the external office, and the cases that are won and lost, and the values of what it either cost the city or what it made the city. Councilman Mendez's point, we're spending $1 million on that department. We want to make sure that the value that the city is getting matches.
Understood. And Councilman Jackson, just for clarity, their employee evaluations are separate and apart, but I will also provide the council with a list of all of the cases, where we are, who has them, what cases are brought back. Is that acceptable?
Sure, it is, but it just speaks to an overall evaluation, not just of the employees, but of the entire department. Well,
Understood.
Okay, so I don't mean to interrupt you guys, but Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers?
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, there's no one for the public portion. May I entertain a motion to close the public portion?
Yes.
Move to close.
Second.
No, somebody said, was trying to call in.
Moved by Councilman Velez,
I'm just letting Madam Clerk know that somebody was trying to call in, because I got a text.
And what was the problem? Are they pressing *3 to connect?
I don't know what they're pressing.
We're gonna have also a meeting after this one.
I'm just telling you, somebody just texted me and said they was trying to get in. That's,
Understood, and we gave them about 5 minutes.
yeah, that's all.
Okay, I'll give them a few more minutes, but my, Councilman, the President, can you ask that, text that person and tell them to press *3,
Okay.
only *3 to get onto the list? It's a 973-321-1579, that's the number.
It's still,
Enter code 8326, and then press *3 to get to us.
so Madam Clerk, we'll give them 2 more minutes.
Yes, sir, I agree, Mr.
We
President.
also have another meeting after this that they could call in. We also have another budget to discuss, which is the courts.
All right.
The President, it's 2 separate meetings, so, we have to have 2 separate public portions.
I understand, and we did open this up for about 5 minutes. We're gonna give them an additional 2 to 3 minutes to call it in.
Yes, sir,
And
yes.
we announced it at the beginning of the meeting that it was gonna be at 8 o'clock.
Okay, yes, sir.
So,
I'll just give them a couple more minutes and see what happens. I'm putting the timer for 3 minutes. But you could speak in the meantime, since we're waiting.
I wanna,
Oh, hold, Mr. President. I feel like someone is calling in. Hold on. I see a number comes up on the screen. Just give me a second, please. Okay, give us 1 second. Is the speaker there? Go ahead and please state your name. Oh, that was you. Oh, sorry. It wasn't that. It was them. Sorry, it was my IT team. Sorry, Mr. President. It was the IT team. Sorry.
Then move to close, Council President.
No, we're still giving them. I have 2 minutes and 18 seconds to give them. I was giving them 3 minutes to call in. Remember? Sorry.
Oh.
I'm timing. I have the timer here. The council could discuss other things in the meantime if they wishes to speak on anything else.
No, that's okay.
Not Councilman Blaze. I did not say Councilman Blaze.
Okay.
I said the council.
I'm part of that body.
Councilmen are always.
so just,
Yeah.
timing in government is everything, right? There's timing for everything. So,
I have to give them some time.
so the administration, the plan that you have in place might be
I just text her.
something that,
It's,
it might be something that you could revisit in the future, but right now is not the time to do these things, especially with what's going on out there. I don't think it would be prudent for us to just continue to hire staff in certain positions, but
And we have to think proactively for the uncertainties that we may face. So we have to make sure that the budget reflects that. I know we have 6 quarters of stabilization that has taken place. However, that's not long-term. That was a very short-term fix for a long-term problem. So I think we definitely need to go back into a request I made when I first came to the council for a strategic financial plan to be put in place to move us off of transitional aid. We definitely have to start moving towards that with looking into ratables and I know there's some work that is being done, but we just have to a greater degree, continue to work on that to make sure that our tax.
And saying that, Council President, may I say something to?
yes, but the last thing, Councilman, so.
Yeah.
Also, we have been receiving, we're moving in the right direction, receiving less money from transitional aid on a yearly basis. But before the monitors put a cap on their, a feather on the cap, don't forget that we did the sewer utility that generated a lot of millions back into the budget. So it's not because the administration have been responsible in the finances, right? That we're seeing, balanced budgets. Unlike other years.
Correct.
And it also basically.
Council President,
Get that, Council President.
Councilman,
yeah, Council President, you put me to think a little bit when you say that, timing is the more important thing here, and you advise the administration, there's some things that could be done, but not at this time, and especially in the situation that we are right now with the city. Every administration had to think, and especially Madam EA, you have a difficult task, to perform. Our decisions have to be real wise and real smart, that do not turn into political suicide to others. And you have to keep that in mind. You have to keep that in mind. As a person that is in the other side, or we as a legislator, we want to make sure that our decisions are not at the end of political suicide for anyone in this city. Thank you, Council President.
Madam Clerk, do we have any yet?
Mr. President, the IT crew reached out to the person, and that person apparently changed their mind from speaking.
So they changed their mind, so we still have the motion.
Motion
There was a motion by Councilman Goulet, and there was a second by Dr. Mintz, I think. Yes, sir. Roll call to close the public portion of the budget hearings at 5 p.m.
Yes.
Councilman Abdul James, thank you. Councilwoman Khan?
Oh, I forgot the other person not in front of me no more. But congratulations, Shahi. Madam Clerk, my vote is yes.
Thank you. Councilman Jackson?
So, well, I'll utilize this to make a quick comment. Council President just recently commented with regard to the actions for the sewer utility. I'll give the administration credit where credit is due. It was their idea that they presented, which, if in fact helped the city positively from a revenue standpoint, but was a tremendous, tremendous burden on an enormous amount of taxpayers. So I want to make sure we make that clear, because Council President, a moment ago, we talked about making sure, revisiting that to make sure taxpayers are treated fairly, and we are neglecting to do so. So whether or not it brought us into alignment with a little bit of additional revenue, it hurt a great deal of our residents extremely, unfortunately. So I wanted to put that on record before I voted. Madam Clerk, my vote is yes.
Thank you. Councilman Khalid?
Yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Mendez?
Just in closing, let me just use a minute to express how I feel after this budget hearing. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to be part of the other budget hearing, but I would like to also ask, the administration and council president I would like to get some of those documents. I know I'm going to have the opportunity to do it when we get the time. But let the record reflect that my position was firm. And without all those positions in place, I'm not looking to support this budget. This is a very, very difficult time for our city. And I know a lot of you, Cali, you are out there every single day, and you see people crying because people are out of job. They don't even have food on the table. Some of them are sick. This is a very difficult time for our city, for us to start thinking about bringing new, hiring personnel. We definitely have to start thinking outside the box and see how we're going to reduce our expenditure and in some way create revenue. And just speaking about the sewer, I know that the administration is getting a large amount of revenue because of that, but we have to keep in mind that our taxpayers are suffering. Some of the homeowners receive up to 300% increase, and the administration was committed to revise that. And I would like to just put that on the table and share with my council colleagues that we should go back and see, how can we review that? So with that being said, let's just keep working together and pray, because we're going through a very difficult time. My vote is yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Councilman Mitch?
Yes.
Councilman Durant?
Well, let me take my 2 minutes opportunity to say something, how I feel also. As I said, I'm not going to say that I'm not going to support. That's why we hear this budget hearings right now, to make it happen. The administration had to listen to our concern. The concern that we bring to the table are the concern of the constituents. And the most thing is, one of them say once to me the other day, say, Councilman, I don't care about this little increase of this and that if we get the service that we deserve. See what the balance is? If we get the service that we deserve, I don't mind paying this because we see in the service. But if we see this increase and we don't see the service being rendered, then it's a problem. Then it's a problem. There's not a balance. I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna support it because that will be hypocrite on me. I'm the last one to vote on this council. A lot of people already got the cards already thrown out that, hey, let him do what he had to do. But I know everyone here are responsible, are elected to make it happen. Because before I say I'm not gonna support something, all the cards on the decks had to be in my favor to not support it. But if the deck are the responsibility of us, making sure that our vote is not going to jeopardize our public servants, our public employees, our responsibility as the taxpayers, our responsibility of the city government pay the bills, then my responsibility is to make sure the administrature present a responsible budget that satisfy the needs of the community and that satisfy the coffers, the revenues of the city. So we are praying, but at the same time we are praying, we want action. Prayer without action is not prayer. Prayer without faith is not prayer. So I got hope that this administration has listened wisely, putting attention of every penny that is put on the table to make it happen in the success of this administration and not turn it into a political suicide. God bless you, my boys, yes.
Thank you. Mr. President?
So, just briefly, we have to do municipal court, but, I gave at least the administration the benefit of letting them know that if certain things happen, I would not support their budget. Another thing that I asked for a while back was a review of the billing. Anytime you issue any type of bills, I don't care if it's your own personal business, you review those bills to make sure that those bills are correct. And you still have a lot of bills, the administration still have not reviewed the bills. When we sold the idea, which was a recommendation from the state for many years, and it was supposed to spread, it was supposed to be equitable for everyone, more not-for-profits was gonna pick up the burden like it was sold to us. But just one little example, you have a lot of buildings from the school district that are not paying sewer. They're sewer. They're not being billed for sewer. So the burden is being passed to the homeowners. And that's just one little example. That's why it's important that we review our billing to make sure that all those entities that are not paying their fair share, pay their fair share, and we reduce the burden to the homeowners.
That counts the county too, right?
Includes everyone, the county and everyone, and every not-for-profit. So I'm just making you aware also, if I don't see that by the end of the year, we have a sewer utility, I will not take action in the sewer utility as much as I supported it, because it was supposed to be good, but I don't agree with the rollout and the outcome of the whole, bidding situation. My vote is yes, Madam Clerk, to close the public portion.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. The vote is 8 in favor, 1 absent. The public portion is now closed. Mr. President, you can continue with the rest of the
Yeah, so before we start, Councilman Kalik,
Yes, thank
we'll
you.
start with the municipal court.
Yeah, thank you, Council President. Before May, I believe we hired a company to do the audit on the sewer, do the sewer studies. Whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to that study?
DA?
I'm sorry, Councilman Clegg, do you mean the original sewer study?
No. Afterward, remember we hired a company to revisit the whole study?
What we did is we asked our auditor, and our CFO can speak to this, but we did ask our auditor to review how the process was done. We provided them with all the documentation from the initial Raftella study, as well as our information, to examine it and to look at the process. And that auditor came back and said that he believed that the process seemed correct, it followed the appropriate guidelines for process. But he did indicate that if we wanted to go into more detail about the rate, then he would have to just kind of get more information, and it would be a much larger scope. So that was not something that we ended up, having to pay for. It was just part of his audit review.
I have one more question.
Councilman, I spoke to the auditors, and just to what the BA said, they didn't look at the building, like I'm asking for so it wasn't detailed, they just looked at the way the volume, the billing was done is accurate based on how they calculated the volume rate. But it wasn't a detailed evaluation of the whole system, it was not that.
But since it's been a whole year already, how much have we collected last year from sewer bills?
We could, Councilman, if you don't mind, maybe we could have that discussion in the regular meeting.
Okay.
Because right now, Councilman Velez, right now, we still have to do municipal court. So let's do that, because the meeting ends at 8:30, we got 9 minutes.
That's fine, no problem.
All
So
right,
you give me the part in the regular?
yeah, in the regular meeting, we could discuss.
Okay. No problem, okay, good.
Thank you. You can start, welcome.
Good evening, council members and Madam Mayor. This should be quick. Operating expenses stays the same, no changes whatsoever. On salaries, basically is the contractual raises. The only thing that's different in here is that I'm requesting for a chief court clerk. And what that is looking to motivate deputy court administrators to take it to another level, to look down further for promotion. Okay, but if you look over at the $100,249 for those two positions, they're actually coming out of the $238,620. Okay, because I will be moving two DCAs or promote two DCAs to the chief clerk position. Okay, and I don't expect to replace the two from there, because the two chief clerk is going to be overseeing the DCAs. On the second page, it says pending increase. That pending increase, I have a court administrator, a new court administrator, that she's been doing an awesome job ever since my other court administrator passed away. And right now she's going through a course certification to get her court administrator's certification. Once that's done, okay, that's how we're planning to compensate her by the $10,000 increase. With that said, even with that $10,000 increase, she's still going to be the lowest paid court administrator in the state. That's all I have, Council President.
Thank you very much, Councilman Velez.
Thank you, Council President. Mr. Quiles, I had the opportunity to share my condolence with you and the loss of your mother. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
yeah, I did send a message. I don't know if you received it, but personally, I send my condolence. In the last meeting that we conducted, and actually, it was good that we canceled it, because a lot of things they put on straight on paper, and you was in the middle of that mess of the conversation. Your budget will represent a slight raise based on contractual?
That's correct.
Correct. But the one that you're bringing in will come in with an automatic raise?
I'm sorry.
The one that you're bringing in, because the person passed away, is it a promotion inside the office, or is bring somebody in?
No, that was a promotion. We went through an interview process. Had a committee, we had an interview process. Other deputy court administrators all applied. Yeah, we even had a few people from out of the office area that have applied for the public as well.
Correct. Now, I know that this is not probably to speak. We're talking about budget, but it is good to know two aspects of this court administration. You know, I was the chair of statutory agency, and you know, I always support anything that is coming in through revenues, and whoever is the chair statutory agency has the quality agency that bring revenues on it, except the housing authority that is a grant funded, bring revenues because the rent had to be paid, but it's more like a fund granted. Mr. Quiles, can you give me just simple, the revenues that comes in yearly to your office, and where do you want to see 5 years from now? No, that's not 5 years, too long. 2 years from now, your courts with the pandemic that we are right now, that have changed us all the way around. Can you give us a highlight on that?
Sure. First of all, this is like a new beginning with this pandemic and so on. And I think it's a positive one because people don't have to come to Paterson anymore. People can stay in Florida. We have people in London that we took care of cases right now, all our sessions are virtual sessions. Okay, our judges stay at home, prosecutors stay at home, defendants stay at home. The only people that come in here is the staff and myself to, put the paperwork out there for the judges and the prosecutors and so on. So this is like a new beginning. And right now, with all the programs that I've put in place, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, to me was a compliment. He sent out a blast email to all the municipal courts to emulate the Paterson Municipal Court. To me, that's an awesome compliment.
So last but not least, Director, can you tell me if the court was fully operational through the pandemic?
No, we had to shut down for a bit, okay, but we were one of the first departments within the city that were running 100% in July.
In July, but then after that, probably it worked through, had to be working because
The
we need to.
problem that we're having right now is that because of the pandemic, okay, we can't issue any warrants and we can't get any FDA's failure to appear. So Pattersonians know that.
Correct.
So with that said, a lot of them like that, the heck with it, I'm not going to no court. Yeah, but then things are going to change once we're able to do the warrants and stuff. A lot of things are going to change.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Council President.
Council President?
Who?
Councilwoman Mims and then Kalik.
Just quickly, I've made this request before, so I'm gonna, make it. My condolences again, Director, Phyllis. To the administration, I've asked, your department is one of our revenue generating departments in the city. I've asked for this request, I still have not received it. I would like to see, in all of the departments that are revenue generating departments within the city of Paterson, I would like to see what revenue has been lost based on the pandemic and how it affects our bottom line. And then I would like to also see a breakdown of the revenue as it relates to the courts. I've asked for that too, but I want to see a breakdown of the revenues. How is it coming in? What are we charging? What the fees are? All the bottom line, but more importantly, for all the other departments as well that are revenue generating, I know the pandemic things have shifted, but I want to see how that affects the bottom line number. In addition to that, from an administrative piece, what is the plan to fill the gaps, whatever those gaps may be, because whatever that number looks like, whether it's in the hundreds, it could be millions, I don't know. But that's something that the administration has to take into account because of the revenue that's generated, not just through this department, but other departments, as well. So we have to make sure, that we do it the right way. We have to also check on any glitches in software, if there are coding issues when it comes to, the bill, whatever the charges or violation is. Can we check on all of that stuff by the year strand, maybe the last 3 years? I don't know, go back, but can we just make sure we do that, Madam BA? I know I've asked for it before, but we definitely need to.
Councilwoman,
Hold on a minute, Director. Let's take, because this is something that has been requested before, right, by Councilwoman Mims. It's 8:30, we're supposed to start our meeting. I want Councilman Kalik to bring this, he wants to speak.
Okay, real quick, I just want to,
Hold on.
I just want to know, Director, do you have all the equipment or accessories that you need to do your job fully remotely since we are in this pandemic?
yes, we're fine, I mean,
All your staff and everybody, you
the
could do the
city
job.
provides us, their computers, the city provides us our computers, we're fine, thanks for asking.
That's great to know. Thank you. That's the only thing I wanted to know.
Yeah, Councilwoman, back to you. When you made that request last time we were here, okay, the following day, unless I have the wrong email address, the following day I sent you that information. But to make sure that you get it by tomorrow, Madam Dean, if it's okay, I'll scan it to you, so make sure it gets to the councilwoman or anybody else in the council that would like, that information, but I did send it.
Thank you, Director, but not just for your department, I want it for all departments.
Madam CFO, are you there? I know you had prepared this, and I thought you had forwarded this on to the council, because when we talked about this at the last meeting, and I know her team did a snapshot of where we stand with the revenue.
Yes, I do have a report. I can forward that out. I don't recall whether I sent it or not, but I can check my email, and if not, I'll just forward it.
Great, thank you.
You ask the remarks, or you want me to do it still?
What's that?
Do you want to send that to the councilwoman, or you want me to send it?
You can send yours. This was an overview of the entire. Okay. Thank you,
Council
Nan.
President,
Madam Clerk,
Yes, Mr. President.
we scheduled another meeting for 8:30, correct?
Yes, sir. I have to entertain a motion and a second to close this meeting first.
Council President.
No, I had my hands up.
Councilwoman Khan and then Councilman Jackson. Let's try to make,
Okay, yes, I just want to say to, the court administrator, and I'm looking at all these employees on here, and you have quite a bit of employees that have been here for many years, correct?
Yes.
That's here. It's just amazing how, I don't, about increases for some of these employees. I think that you probably should have looked into that some more, because, I mean, your department is a revenue bringing in.
Yeah, we average anywhere from $4.5 million to $5 million a year to the city.
Right. And so, to me, I think that you probably maybe could have looked into, you want to hire like some more keyboard clerks, and you want to start them at 30,000, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. I mean, have you ever thought about increasing? But before I get to that, and I'm just gonna say one more thing, and you probably done heard it over and over, you done heard it many times, about, people are going to court, and tickets are being thrown out, and people are not being fined to the max. So I'm not sure if you can talk to your judges, because when I had tried to talk to the judges, the judge said, I, as a councilwoman, cannot talk to the judges, which I can understand that.
Well, those are things that I'm not supposed to be talking to you guys about.
But I just want to bring it to
That's okay. I'm sorry?
No, I just want to bring it to the floor that it's
What I told you about the judges are throwing things out, that's incorrect.
okay.
Okay?
Right.
When it comes to a budget hearing, they always say the same thing. It's the prosecutors that makes the deal, and they don't throw things away.
Director, this is a conversation for another time. Any council member.
It will be for another time, Council President, but I'm bringing it to the attention of Corporation Council, because it's her prosecutors that she has over there.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Councilman Jackson, and then let's close this meeting, please.
So, to that exact same point, Council President, I think that, there's no better appropriate time than the current time when we're addressing the department and its budgeted needs. To that point, for the last 6 years, Director, I've been requesting that the reporting from your office is provided to this council on a more detailed level. For example,
The reporting
correct, the reporting. For example,
of the court sessions?
no, of the court results. It doesn't necessarily. I'm not looking for court sessions. I understand that's proprietary and or information that you may not be able to be just divulged. But we're talking about the results. your department is a recipient, although there's a claim of $5 million that's coming from your department, a lot of that revenue is derived from the work of many of the departments. For example, Paterson Police may write summonses, and they produce the revenue that your department is reaps the reward. But this council needs to understand the productivity from the various divisions and departments. So I'm curious with regards to your reporting, and for example, how many summonses have been written from community improvements? How many summonses have been written from the division of zoning? How many summonses have been written to Paterson residents? Non-Patterson residents, how many cases were dismissed? Have you upgraded your system that to be able to provide all of the detailed information to the council with regards, so we can do our checks and balances on these various divisions on their performance as well?
Okay.
Okay, there's no such report, first of all. Okay, and the reports that we do have available are reports that come from the Supreme Court. That those are the only reports that we're allowed to use. I know I've been asked this before, and I can't break down how many tickets a police officer issued, a fireman issued, and so on and so forth. Okay, it's a report. It gives you traffic, parking, others. Okay,
So, Director, to that point, this is 2020, and there's, with the department that's creating revenue. I mean, I think that it will be prudent to be able to provide the public with that insight. When we talk about, when the city gets.
Councilman, we had the discussion last year, you have a valid point. I actually couldn't comprehend how they couldn't provide this report also. But if their system does not provide it, let's just say, why can't we get this report from the departments? We could find out how many tickets they have issued. Then we go to court and we ask the court, how many of those tickets have actually been.
Council, if you allow me an opportunity to finish my thought, the reason that we can't get those various information from these departments is because we will not have an understanding of the ultimate outcome. If we get the reports from the court system, it tells us exactly where the summons is derived, why they were written, and what was the outcome. We can't. I mean, it's not a fair evaluation if we don't understand the full outcome. Now, if we don't have the capacity to do so, this has been a request over the past 6 years. We need to put in place a system to do so. Now, with that being said, I'll allow the director to answer that question, but I also, director, want to ask you, when you talk about the judges and various employees have the opportunities to stay home. Lastly, very quickly, Council President, please.
Councilman Jackson, it's 8:38.
Okay, I understand that, but I understand that, but
We're not extending this. We have a meeting. We already published a meeting for 8:30.
All right, very good, Council President. But I have a question that's extremely important. I would like the opportunity for the director to answer. I went into the building. I went into the building and saw employees working under very uncomfortable circumstances. No heat, no air, and council director, I understand certain employees have been privileged to stay home, but what is the working conditions currently within your division, your department? Are these employees still working with their coats on and working in uncomfortable conditions?
Absolutely not. I don't know who told you that, but nobody's working here with coats.
Not what I was told, but I saw.
Right now, I'm in a coat position.
Okay, very good.
No, nobody here. I would never do that to my staff. Absolutely not.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. President.
Move to close.
Close.
Second.
I did first.
Councilman Velez, second by Councilman Mims.
And Councilman Mendez did too. I just said it loud.
Roll call.
Yes, Mr. President. Roll call to close the budget hearing was held from 5 p.m. Councilman Abdulaziz? Councilwoman Khan?
Yes.
Councilman Jackson?
Yes.
Councilman Kalik?
Yes.
Councilman Mendez?
Yes.
Councilman Nix?
I have to say that, I have attended every last one of these budget hearings, and the process is very productive. My recommendation and request to the administration is to take heed to the advice and the recommendation and some of the insight that we provided. And I think that we'll come close to the finish line together, but we have to do it, in a more unified fashion. We have to consider the residents and the taxpayers and make sure that we do it, in unison together. Madam Chair, my vote is yes.
Thank you. Councilman Velez?
I heard this before the other day when I was 15 days in here in the house, and I'm gonna put it here in the floor today. We have to make we decision, not me decision. So that means a lot. My decision will not count if I would count with my colleagues to do that decision. We are a we body, not a me body. Director from the courts, thank you for everything you have done in the courts. I know that it's a tough when you have attorney dealing with tickets and dropping tickets, then making cases to bail out the repeaters or offenders in the city. And sometimes it falls into the wrong individuals. The judge is not ruling or the court is not ruling, but hey, they got attorneys out there that know how to get their revenues real good. But thank you for the work that you have been doing. I know that they upgraded the heat unit and the AC unit in your building. I know that they lowered the ceiling to make it more comfortable in the temperature. I know the bathroom looks more cleaner, and I know the personnel probably are more happy in walking in and out from that courthouse. So I could testify because I'm the boots on the ground and I could interact with all of them. So saying that, thank you for being here, and thank you, Council President, for allowing me to be a little bit behavior today. My vote is thank you.
Mr. President?
Before I vote, I just want to make a recommendation. One of my council colleagues texted me, and Councilman Mendes, you want to put that picture back that way we could save some money in the third floor? You still have the picture there from when he's a councilman. You can just bring that one in, give it to the clerk.
Definitely. Tomorrow morning I will be back. I'll be in the third floor.
We will save money.
And I thought about it, Mr. President, but it had a large and there, no, he's third one.
It was a joke. A council colleague said. I wanted to share with the public.
Mr. President, your vote?
Thank you, for the director. Thank you, Director Diaz, for your time. And my vote is yes, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. President.
So we need to log out, right? Log out again?
Good. Give me 1 second, Councilman.
Give everybody to say, good evening to all, God bless, and thank you.
The vote is 7 in favor, 2 absent. The budget hearing is hereby adjourned. We now resume to our 8:30 scheduled meeting. And Ryan asked that give him at least 5 minutes. Everyone has to re-log in again, but at least another 5 minutes.
Do we have a different invitation?
Yes. So he's gonna take us off air completely, and then we log on again.
Dan, it's the first time we're getting a break for a long time. We get a break between meetings.
Just maybe 5 minutes.
That's good.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Lord have mercy.
Amen. Mercy a lot.